Viewer discretion is advised.
In 1935, without any of the technology we have now, without any of the products, the technology and the skills, they built 72,000 state houses in 1 year. How could they do it then and they can't do it now? Because they choose not to do it now.
Mandate.
Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tamaki Makaurau and Okilani. He's an amazing man with an amazing journey thus far. He is a broadcaster, he's also a radio host, a journalist, but also a political reporter. And so you'll know that familiar voice, recognise that familiar voice, and also that familiar face on TVNZ, Television New Zealand, also on TV3 on the news, but also regularly on the kind of general election time. And so you also know him as the guy who was on TV3 Story as one of the hosts. And not only that, but he was also one of the leading hosts of the AM show, but also he was also on the radio host of the mid-morning
Vietnam.
News and talk show on Today FM. And so he's won several awards due to his journalism and also his reporting prowess. But also the man has just started his own podcast named after himself. Please put your hands together for the man that is Duncan Garner. Duncan, thank you so much, mate. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it, Duncan. And so,
thank you for having me. You got a steel trap memory as well. No auto cue, and you just all those things just come off.
Mate, you, hey, listen, we grew up watching you, and even now, even more so now, we're still listening to you on the podcast. But where do we start? Because obviously, I guess we can start with the podcast, Duncan, in terms of obviously Today FM and all that debacle of all that kind of stuff. But how did it unfold in terms of you doing the podcast and going back to MediaWorks?
Yeah, so we lost our jobs. We were on air. It was on my show. It was just after 9:20. Tova walked in and she was upset. And she said, I'm not sure what your standards are here, but they fucked us, she said. And I said, this is betrayal. I didn't really want to swear because I could see what was happening. We're going under. It's a hard thing to go under, on public national radio. You're broadcasting to every corner of the country. Someone's listening, and you are in your demise. You are folding the station live. Is there a better way to do this? Maybe we can workshop that, and maybe we'll think about that again. You got to be able to close things down, sure, but you got to do it better than that. So it was pretty upsetting. But lots of young people, and I've been through this sort of thing before, so I needed to be a bit more stoic for everyone. And plus, I know these people, the bosses that made the decisions, and I've worked with them for 20 years. And I as we left, they said, "Oh, we want to talk to you about content." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I went home for a few days, and they rang me and said, "Can we meet up? We want to talk about content." And I said, "They said Leon will be there, And I said, "That's cool." Then these are the guys making the decisions, you see. And I turned up and I said to this guy who was one of our bosses, and he's been wonderful. So on the podcast and all this sort of thing, I put this on record. But I said to him, I didn't know whether to smack you or shake your hand when I saw him, because that's how I felt. I was really upset. I loved that job. I really felt there was something, when I got on air of Today FM and doing talkback, the more personal it got and the more intimate the conversations were about people, their problems, their issues, and solutions. I always wanted to push for solutions so you could be useful to people. I found it, I'd go home and my hairs would be standing up on my neck and arms, and I'd be like, shit, that was freaky, some of that stuff. And I'd wear it all afternoon, I would feel this, and I'd ring some of the people that rang me on air. Margaret, are you okay? It's Duncan Garner here. And they were like, are you ringing me? I said, yeah, I got your number. I was just a bit worried, we spoke to you for 10 minutes, but I just wanted to make sure you're okay. And I did that a few times, I was so concerned for people, and people need people. And what COVID gave us was the opposite. It gave us isolation, and it really highlighted who was isolated. Some people can be lonely. They can be in a marriage, but they're still lonely, or they can be on their own and very happy. It's a hard thing, loneliness. It's a hard thing, isolation. And we've got so many issues in this country that are quite deep now. And but we've worked out that talking about it's quite a good thing. It empowers you because you see other people in the same situation as you, and that brings comfort, So that's what I love that job, To lose it was devastating, and I couldn't get to my son, quick enough on the day, and I got to his school, and I could see he's looking at his phone as he comes to the car. And shit, I didn't get here quick enough. And because he's always worried about his dad and stuff, and I can understand why. And he goes, are you going to be okay, Dan? And I said, I haven't told you anything yet. He goes, you lost your job. And I said, I haven't got the letter yet. And I never got the letter because I never was made redundant, but we lost our station. And so I'm trying to put a brave face on for my son. And, you know, you've got to be the man to your son. But he knows that he's a sensitive boy and he gets it all. And he's waiting for me to be vulnerable. He's looking at me. I said, you want me to cry? Or do you want me to cry? And he put his hand on my knee, you know, and I was driving home. So those things were hard, you know. I didn't get to my mum for 2 days. She listens to everything, and I knew she knew, you know. I could imagine her melting down at home, but I couldn't bring myself to ring her, you know, for 2 days, you know, because all these people are texting you and ringing you, and it's overwhelming, you know. And I apologise to people if I didn't get back to them, because I'm always making it my mission to, you know, do what you say you'll do and get back to people. So I found it a really brutal time, you know. I wrote an article for the Sunday Star Times on the Saturday, and I was typing away and I couldn't see the screen, you know, my eyes were welling up. And I whacked that out there and I put my personal email at the bottom of it if you want to get hold of me, because I wasn't sure whether the one at MediaWorks worked anymore. It did, but I would have got 800 emails from people saying the most beautiful, amazing things, you know. We weren't around very long in that year, that Today FM, but it had a real impact. It seemed to have an impact on people. It was new, it was fresh, it was looking for solutions, it was, you know, wasn't stayed and stuck in the past, you know. We tried to do something. But we died, you know, and we died on air. I went to a 50th birthday party that weekend for one of my mates. He looks all of 52, this guy. And we had to dress up as a rock star from the 80s. I went as Elton John, you know.
Why did you choose them?
Well, hide behind the big pink glasses, you know. So here I am, and you know, all the boys, you know, let's have a party, Dux. And I'm like, there was a queue of people waiting to talk to me about losing the job. Everyone, hey, what happened? Oh, say it again. And so I found this back door in the house, and I ran up the hill and got into my car and went home. You know? I'm never like that. I always wanted to see my mates and everything. So it was hard, yeah, it was brutal. And then they said, well, why don't you try podcasting? I said, what's that? I've heard of this thing. The Joe Rogan, is that what do you want me to do? How are we going to do this? We weren't even really set up for it, you see. Even though we were radio stations, you know, MediaWorks. So I'm the sort of guy that if I make a decision to get up again, I'm going to get up again, you know. And so I just needed a bit of time out to get my head right, and go fishing and stuff, and then listen to other people's podcasts and what they do. And then I said, I want my producer to stay with me, Dave, and I want us to do what we were doing in a condensed version daily. And then we sat down trying to come up with names of what's it going to be, you know, because you can overthink this stuff, you know. Like, what's it going to be, you know, Duncan Daily, and I'm like, what if I want a day off? So, Duncan every now and then.
Like Duncan Disorderly.
Yeah, well, I've got a column in the NBR, yeah, Disorderly, which I think is about right, actually. They were really pleased with themselves, and they came up with that one. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to call you Duncan Disorderly, you know. I'm like, yeah, you got it, you know. But, yeah, it's been a tough time. But, you know, life's not easy, and you never learn. I've never learned anything from, like, big wins, like if we beat De La Salle, you know, by 60-0 or something. Twice this year. But you don't. Game was called off because they're fighting. But you don't learn from that. You learn from the defeats, from the losses, and how do we rise from the ashes. And yeah, I studied it hard, you know, to be. Sometimes it's not your fault when things go wrong. You're part of a cog in the wheel, and you just got to. I know we swore and said this and that, but you got to hold yourself. And you're not bigger than the industry, and you're not bigger than the stations, and you're not bigger than some parts of the whole place. You just, you know, you got to be humble and go with it and rise again. I do like podcasting. Wow. Yeah, chairperson of the Podcast Association. Is there one? But I like it. I find it strange because I've always been used to live television or live radio, and that's where energy comes. You know, live, bang, bang, whiz, bang. Well, we're back on 3, 2, 1, bang. You know, it's full on. Once the train leaves the station, you know, choot choot, we're gone. But with podcasts, it's stop start. We'll do that one tomorrow, but I'll do the interview today. Chopped it up there. So it's a bit like when I was a news reporter, you're chopping it up and then you put it to air. But there's all sorts of different principles with podcasting and different approaches, and, you know, I didn't even know about stages and intros and stuff. It's all new, you know. But we've done 50, and I'm quite excited about it because I'm learning stuff again, you know. At age 49 and been in the industry a long time, I'm learning about something. It's quite cool, you know.
Have you done 50 already?
50 is tomorrow, Friday, yeah.
Wow.
And you've only been in operation for...
Well, 50 days. 50
Yeah.
working days. Because we've done, I do one Monday to Friday, yeah. And there's been 2 public holidays, and I've made sure that we're prepared and put one out on public holiday as well.
Oh, sure.
Because, you know, then you have presents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I've always been a daily journalist, you know, like...
Yeah.
You know, people do, you know, one a week and stuff, and I think...
Call it out.
1, 2, 3. How come you... Anyway, so... no, this is quality, you know.
Duncan was
But imagine doing this every night, though, you know. It's really quite taxing.
Oh, man.
Thanks for our chairman who wants us to go every night pretty soon. 2024.
2024.
But you're very capable of it. You know, you've got the setup now.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And it
for
was
sure.
almost underusing the space if you didn't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm Duncan.
But
Totally agree.
podcasting is it's so in my view it's fast forwarded it to this era now. Podcasting was coming, slowly it was evolving, but people I think it's 3 years ahead of where it should have been, where it was going to be, because everyone was at home and they had Auckland lockdown. You know, what are we still at home for, Jacinda? Come on! But so people just humans will go and do what they do. They always have what they have in their hands all the time, their phone.
Yeah.
From age 2 onwards, everyone's got a phone,
Yeah.
and everything's digital. Who went to the bank recently? No. Who turned on the radio in their car? You know, who turned on the free-to-air television? When did you last watch the 6 o'clock news on time?
Wow. That's good.
Tonight, probably. Did you?
I haven't. That's a good question.
No, but seriously though, because no one does anything in real time anymore. It's when you know the consumers run the shop. They rule the roost. They will choose what they like. They will choose what they want. So we can just hope that you put it on the shelf and they pick it. See, with live radio and live television, it's going, okay? It just has to be, someone standing in front of it or whatever. But with the podcast, it's dead until it's turned on. You know, it sits on the shelf. Here it is, the library book over here. And we're waiting for someone to go pick it up. And it's all this data. You can see who's picking it up because everything in the podcast is trackable. You know everyone. We know who they are, where they live, which country they live in, which language they speak, how long they listen to us, whether they come back. We know who you are. You know, we're coming to get you. You know, but but whereas traditional TV and radio audiences, they'll just say, 300,000 people watched us last night. And what sort of quality was it? Were they watching it or were they ironing with it on? But if you're going to choose a podcast, you're invested. So you're more than one listener because you are, well, for a start, they choose you. And it is really intimate because they've invested in this, and you're in their head. They might be in the car, on a train, or whatever. But it's as close as you can get. You're literally sitting on their knee, or they're sitting. You know, that's a bit odd and creepy, I know, but that's the relationship. You know, it's tight.
That's true. That's
When you
very
think
true.
about it, you know,
Yeah.
you're not speaking to thousands. You are, but you're actually speaking to one person because they'll be on the train back into Danny Moore tonight, and you're in their ear. That's all that's in their ear.
So it must be a total flip for you when you're looking at it from the live newsreels.
Totally. Yeah, it's been a bit of a mess with my mind, you know, because I always did live, and it was although I did cut tape stories for years. You know, we cut that's like this, but it's different. It's still played out live, you know, on the news or live television shows, and that's live. You know, our radio show didn't even have a delay on it. You know, we decided to just go with it. You know.
Do you do a lot of editing with your podcasts?
Producer Davo does, yeah.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah, because I might say, can you put that thing in there when that guy says, "Show me the money"? You know, like little bits of character. We might chop in there or whatever. But yeah, it's a totally different thing. You know, I'm used to going to that studio and it was 2 minutes to 9. We have 2 minutes. We're on 30 seconds. 10. All right, Cody. Good morning. Welcome to and you're on. And the train's left. You can't say, "Oh, can you stop there?" Because I'll just back the truck. Can you just hold on, folks? I'm just oh, we're on, are we? You know, so you can't. You're on.
Yeah.
Whereas podcasts, the finished product may not be the true product. Or it depends how honest you are, you know. It depends on what you do in post. Whether you cut this up, he's boring, we're going to chop him like 7 days did, you know. So I'll know if you cut it over. Quality, who's the head of quality control coming to get you. So, but that's the thing, you know. If it's I waffled a bit, it was 2 hours 30, we'll get down to 2 hours, whatever. You have the ability to do that with a live television show or radio show. Your producer's riding your backside. It's 9:17. We've got to go to a quick break because we're going to sell some lipospheric vitamin C, the best vitamin C in the business. You know, that's the horse that you're on. You know,
That must be so buzzy.
you can't walk away from it. You know, you're on that train ride.
Right.
Whereas this is more space. They podcast. There's no rule book for them yet. There's no BSA, so you can. You know.
Oh, Duncan.
You know, you could say all sorts of things, and it's up to whether it meets your standards. You know, you know. So I don't know what happened to the sound there. I don't know if that'll work. Beep beep beep. But so I have some people come on and they go, oh no, fuck man, I'm sorry about that. I said, no, don't worry about it. Like, does it matter? Like. Someone who's going to tune into your podcast, they're going to be mature enough to deal with that, I think, So we still have standards, but there's no one governing that. So on live radio, Today FM, if someone would come ring with the F-bomb, I was always a bit slow with the dump button because I always thought it created a bit of energy, and it was, some guys, I'm not going to leave my wife. I decided to give her one more chance, but fuck, this is hard, man. I'm not going to beep it out. That's part of the conversation. So it's only if someone was to ring up and some pig-headed redneck going hard, I'd be like dump, because it would be not very classy and it would be a bit confronting and just too angry, Had one guy ring up and he hated men wearing pink. And it must be New South Wales. And he was adamant that any parent, any father who puts their boy in pink was raving gay, and it was terrible socialisation for this kid and everything. And I got really sick of this guy. I was wearing a pink shirt at the time, and I started looking at myself and I'm like, this guy's just ignorant, It's a bit like with the Māori language, my kids are Te Reo Māori speakers, and they're both languages, and that's a choice, because the mother is Te Reo Māori speaker, so they can all have conversations about me, and they think that I don't know, but I understand, and I got the handbook, and you can just tell with their faces, like, yeah, Papa, you pricks, I've just worked out what you said about me. So, but people would ring up and they'll say, I'm really anti the language, Duncan, this is why. And they'd give me the reasons, and I'd say, that's not a reason. So this is our job to promote this language is tangata whenua, First Nations people. It's their language. Are we going to be responsible for overseeing the death of it? No, it's our duty to keep it and to promote it. Oh, it's just so bad for us, mate. And I'm like, what's bad about it? I'll tell you what's bad is stopping someone from having their language. What do you mean? And I said, well, this is what we did 60 years ago. My son's grandparents were sent home from school for speaking Te Reo Māori. When's that cool, Imagine that. Imagine if they happened to all the white people in this country. Showing you know English today, there'd be an uprising, So you got to sometimes understand other people. And that's what I really enjoyed at Today FM was putting yourself in other people's shoes and just thinking, can I talk about racism or can I just hear about it? There's the dominant culture, Pākehā, in this country. Maybe I'll just listen to others talk about it. I'm not going to. We can call it out, but I'm not in a good position to, because maybe it's our people that have been guilty of this. So you learn a lot, You learn a lot from heading out of the start gates too early on some things, I made lots of mistakes in my 20s and 30s. Oh yeah, lots of mistakes. But I'll never forget how we learn from them, I tried to take out Rodney Hyde once, really bad. Tried to take him out hard, And he was always very good to me. And he called me down to Parliament. I was a little young guy, and he's sitting there, like a rhinoceros, And he pulls out this script, the script of my news piece, and I looked at it. I thought, he's graffitied it with all this highlighter. You know, every highlighter thing was a mistake. Something like 8 mistakes in this one page, and I'm like, I was embarrassed. You know, I was a young journalist, and he says, I'm not going to take you to the Broadcasting Standards Authority, but you'll never make these mistakes again, and I'll go and learn from it, mate. So he was like a teacher that day. But other arseholes would have just finished me, you know. But I appreciate that, you know. And
you nice to him after that?
For a week. No, but I learned. I'll never forget things like that, because there are seminal moments in your life where someone gave you a break. So make sure you learn from it. You know, make sure you take advantage of that, rather than be entitled and arrogant. So, cool, got away with that. I'll get away with it again. You know.
I like that.
Yeah,
It's cool,
like
Duncan.
that.
Well, how do you deal with that, Duncan? Because you bring up a good point in terms of racism and all that kind of stuff, and obviously some of the backlash when you're working on radio. So how do you deal with all some of the backlash and the trolls that come after you, and just kind of how do you protect your mind in terms of?
So I came off social media about 8 years ago. I made a conscious decision. I was at home, and I was running my own Twitter account and Facebook and all this, and hosting an AM show, and I was just inundated with stuff all day. I could have, I went home and I started to battle these people, and at one stage I was 3 hours deep into this. Fuck you, email to this guy who was just a prick, and I was on the end of my bed, he's like this. Sounds like a rapper. and there's a knock on my door, and it was my boss who'd been trying to get hold of me. I hadn't seen the phone ring. What are you doing? I said, this arsehole. He goes, give me that. He turned off all my social settings, and he goes, you need to think about this. And I decided that day, I'm out. I'm not going to engage in it. What good does it do for you? And I'll tell you what, my mental health is, I don't know what they're saying about me right now on social media. It's probably, for every arsehole, there's someone who will hopefully flip it on its head and say, no, he's all right, or this or that. And I don't actually care. At Parliament, I was there so young and for so long that I just got the skin that you feel it's really rough. It's very tough. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, see, there's your hand, right?
Solid.
Yeah, there's a gun. But I got like this really thick skin around me, because you had to, because Parliament's this adversarial place where they want to smash you. Like there's a winner and a loser. You don't want to be the loser every day, So, and that just teaches you, what does it teach you? You go home and argue with your wife, you've got to win it all the time. You're running around for the first 15 years of your life wanting to win everything and lose nothing, because this is what Parliament turned me into, this animal, this feral animal.
Wow.
It was just feral. What? But you turn feral, because this is what the place teaches you. Because any sign of weakness or vulnerability, they'll screw you. So it's not a great place. And that's why I was on this Facebook thing, on social media, battling with these people. And that's unhealthy. So I got rid of it. I tell you what, I didn't care what they're saying. I had my weekends back. I could watch my son's rugby without, he's an asshole, I'll get you later, Raymond. Raymond. This is one person. They don't even, sometimes I was arguing with someone who was anonymous. I didn't even know it was a bot or whatever, If it was a bot, I would have pissed off. But you're on the sideline now, your son's rugby or whatever, or daughter's thing.
That's cool.
And I'll get back to this guy. And next minute, 10 minutes is gone, you missed the game or whatever. So when's that healthy? Social media is screwing our kids. It's playing with the algorithms in their head. TikTok. Sometimes my son hops in the car after school, and I say to myself, if he doesn't say hi to me today, I'm going to turn the car off and sit there. He hates sitting in cars. I'll just sit there. He's like, on TikTok. What? Hey, mate. Hi. Where are we going? I thought I'd just wait till you say hi. It's we've been waiting here 50 minutes, I've done this a couple of times after school.
That's cool.
Just to show this behaviour. Like, get in the car. Hey, Dad, how are you? Good, how's your day, mate? It's a strange thing, having nice hellos and goodbyes. It used to be sort of commonplace, but now everyone's just chasing stupid vapes or stupid social media.
I mean, even the postures that they're developing, Just the body postures.
I know. There's
like in this trance.
something neck thing.
Yeah. It's, all the injuries that they have going on.
Sit up also. But it's true though. It's true. So I say to him. So he's up at the moment. He's up north, in Hokianga. He's got his phone on him, but he's outdoors, So that's a good thing.
Yeah. You mentioned Hokianga quite a bit in a lot of your interviews. What's so special about Hokianga? Because you're Also going to move there at some stage.
Yeah, I'd like to move there. I thought the houses would be a bit cheaper, actually.
And that drive, that gorge. Oh,
You don't like it? You should have
it's one of the worst.
tried
gorges
20
of
years ago
ever.
when it was gravel. At least you could do burnouts.
But what's up there that is? It sounds like a heart place. For
You know, I had a place up there, but when the marriage goes, the house goes. So I tried to keep it, but the house, not the marriage. Oh yeah, definitely. So I've had a sort of a place there for a while, but my mates are there. We've always gone.
Yeah.
We got lots of memories there. We've been there since we were teenagers, and it's sort of it's West Coast, so a bit like Leeward hard, like West Coast hard.
Yeah. Not east.
And our mate, he's got a farm there, and my good mates live there, and they run tourism business there, or Sparky. It is an extra hour though, isn't it? But that keeps Aucklanders away.
Yeah,
because they go to the East Coast. Paihia and places like they have islands and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not game enough to go through Kaikoi anyway to get there.
Oh, that gorge.
The forest, it's to where Tani Mahuta is. That's where the big tree is.
Oh.
It's beautiful.
It is when you get there, but it's just driving there.
The bag and stuff.
Hard out.
Yeah, who's the driver?
It's the guys who are local and they don't drive slow. They zip.
Oh yeah. Well, if they slow down the car, stuff's out. You see, so you got to keep going. But I agree with you. It's actually only 3 hours 10 minutes.
Only.
Well, most people in Auckland, they can handle 2 hours, and that's what makes it special. It's not overflowing with people. Like last weekend, there was hundreds of people in Russell and Paihia and jumping off walls, doing Birdman and stuff. And there were 10 people in our local pub, and only one set of teeth, It was
real teeth.
They weren't real, mate. They were clacking. But I think he was sharing them with the wife, but they were clacking away, But this is West Coast, warts and all, This is where government money never ends up unless it's Shane Jones getting you a wharf or a seawall or something. But the houses, people live in shacks, and what's happened is, I'm really critical of this. Jacinda said, don't get me started, there'll be a section coming on Jacinda, just wait, folks. Jacinda stood in front of Ngāpuhi a number of years ago, and I was there, and she said, we will get into this special relationship with you, we will audit ourselves, we will look at progress, we'll come back to you, and you come to us if there's a problem. Well, I always use that test as the housing in Hokianga. How's it looking? Cyclone Gabriel came through, and that took the last remaining little corner of the roof off. People are living in tents. I went past a family the other day in a tent. I slowed down. I was like, shit, when was that happening? They always lived in lean-tos, if you know what I'm talking about up there. Garages, lean-tos, sheds, whatever, house buses, whatever they can. But the middle of winter in a tent?
Yeah.
Now, if that was in Glen Innes tomorrow, if that was in Ponsonby tomorrow, One News and 3 News, or News Hub, whatever they call themselves, they'll be down there with the reporter and the cameras, and this is outrageous, we must stop this. But it's in the Hokianga. It's out of sight, out of mind. Wow. And Jacinda's gone. She's gone. Do we know where she is?
She was at De La Salle the other week. Just saying.
That might have improved things. For both of them. So the thing is, where is she being held to account for those promises to the people of the North? No wonder they don't trust the government. No wonder people don't trust governments, because they go in there, they say this shit. Well, I remember it.
Yeah.
I like to hold them to every word of it. Don't say it if you don't mean it.
Yeah.
It really riles me. We'll do this and we'll do that, and it sounds good. It sounds good on the news. Job done, guys. This government is classic for committing money to an area. We'll spend 1.9 billion on mental health. We'll spend it, all right. On what? Oh, well, we said we'd spend it. And what are we spending on, John? Right, John's left. What did you spend on? No, what? Grant? Hey, no, he's not there either. So, what? If you're going to say spend on something, create. This is where the bureaucracy is the most inexperienced, ineffective bureaucracy in our history. No one's got any institutional knowledge anymore. No one knows how to make, put 2 hammers and some nails there to get that thing going. They're butt covering assholes, these guys, who don't actually make any progress to anything. The best politicians know how to make those bureaucrats work.
Who are those best politicians? Because you say
make the bureaucrats work. Well,
you say anymore, so there must have been a time where
people like Annette King could get
True.
she'd say to them, she'd get them in the office and say, if you guys fight in public, then I'm going to take the money off you. We're not fighting anymore. You know, so she had her techniques and the stuff would get done. You want to get it done or you want to be out the door? So she would hold them to account. Very experienced people like that. Michael Cullen.
Oh, yeah. Just passed away.
Yeah. He designed KiwiSaver on the back of a refill pad, sitting at the beach in Napier a few years back. And he's sitting there and he goes, well, I might like to do a KiwiSaver. We'll call it KiwiSaver because they had Kiwi Rail, Kiwi Bank. What do we call the savings thing? KiwiSaver. Makes sense, you know. Yeah, it starts getting easy when you franchise it, like Burger King, you know. And where's Joseph? And so what you've got is, he goes, well, we'll put $1,000 kickstart in there for every kid. You put in 2%, your employer puts in 2%. This is great. You know, employers are never going to give you free money unless the government forces them to. So I signed up, you know, on the dot, signed all my kids up, you know. And there's quite a few kids, you know. So I think that's when they changed the $1,000 thing. Oh, Duncan signed up the kids. We're out of money. So it was a great scheme, though. Well, that's a legacy, though. He has a legacy. Yeah. So he's dead and buried, Michael Cullen. And he wasn't everyone's cup of tea. But he has got things in that parliament that remain today. Jim Anderton, Kiwi Bank. What can John Key say he got? We'll go back after the break. You know? But you know what I mean, though? Like, you know, he actually got us through a really big global recession because he understood money.
True.
And you can take that for granted. We can look at the current lot and think, oh, yeah, those guys were quite smarter, you know, at English. And John Key, they understood money and how to fix things. This government... did you want to go there now? For every decision you take in an economy, there's an effect on something, right? So we will go and stop landlords, owners of houses, from being able to claim interest on all their spending on the house. We're going to stop them getting those perks. We're going to stop them getting $20,000 a year. You know? Okay, well that means they won't build the next house and there'll be a housing shortage. Yeah, because these guys are the developers and the speculators. But they didn't see this, you know. But the advice comes on your desk as a minister. You got plenty of advice. Did they read it? Like, how come they said they're going to do this on all the stuff on cancer? Yet Australia has 100 drugs more than we do when it comes to fighting cancer. If I got cancer today, I'd be in Australia tonight. Because we don't have the drugs that they have. For every 50 cents we put into them, they put $1 in.
So who are the experts that feed into that? Or is it that they're just not reading it? They're just kind of just...
Everything's a priority. Every decision the government takes is a decision they haven't taken somewhere else. So you can't tell me that when COVID hit, they found the money. They printed the bloody stuff. It was called quantitative easing.
That's right.
Sixth form of De La Salle stuff, you know, it's quantitative easing. Maybe fifth form. But I never knew what it was. So quantitative easing basically just let the money out, you know. So they let money into the community. They let heaps of it. There was no tests, no nothing. Just if you're a business, grab the money while you can. So I had friends that set up the business. So, all sorts. The window cleaning business, you know. And suddenly they get $40,000 for the window cleaning. Oh, where's the brushes? You guys haven't. So there was some corruption going on around this, you know. And some people pay it back, some won't. And that's on you as a citizen, what sort of citizen you are. But, you know, there's money around, you know. They could pump. My dad died of cancer, you know. And he had to pay $10,000 for these pills and they did jack shit. And, you know, his illness now, if he got it now, he'd last 5 more years rather than the 1 year he lasted because the developments, you know. But we're not, with men's health, you know, we are researching the wrong cancers. So we research these different cancers, but they're not the cancers that men get. We get the prostate one, you know. Most New Zealand men will die of prostate cancer, but not of it. They'll just die with it, you know.
Yeah.
We don't investigate the right cancers. For every $1.40 that goes into women's health, 6 cents goes into men's.
So when you say
that's why we die earlier. We die 1,200 days earlier on average than you.
Yeah.
You'll be sitting on your own. You like the idea of that? Honestly, we'll be having a party in the sky, us guys, and you'll be looking for friends down here.
Yeah.
Because you're going to live longer than us.
So when you say that men are dying with prostate cancer, are they not told? It's not diagnosed?
It's not picked up
wow.
because the screening's not there.
So the screening, it's not part of the screening for men's health?
Not until a certain age. I think you get it when you're 60. Too late.
Yeah, it is.
So what do you mean, Duncan? In terms of the screening, that we don't have the equipment or the technology?
It comes down to that. It comes down to that, you know. we don't have, it hasn't been a push, you know. We've pushed Herceptin and the breast cancer and that sort of thing. So my mum got breast cancer and she survived. My dad got kidney cancer, died. There's your example, you know.
Oh, wow.
So it's good that they prioritise one of them, because otherwise I'll be orphan.
Yeah.
So
'Cause
we
even
could do
kidney-
stuff. You know, in
Yeah.
Southland, that lady built a charity hospital because they didn't have the right services for her husband Blair. You know, this is a first world country. What are we doing with all this money? Now, the government spent. Yeah, we're going to go there again. The government spent $28 billion more this year. $28 billion more this year than they did when they first took office 5.5 years ago. Right? $28 billion. Does it feel like that when you look at the services and the strains and the pressure? Does it feel like, or does it feel like they've just pissed it up against the wall?
Oh, it is pissing up against the wall. I mean, look at the wait times for people to be able to see any sort of
What wait times? They kiss you off.
overload. Well, that's
Yeah.
right. They'll just send you back home and you haven't even been screened.
Why did you leave home in the first place? So, you know, I've had a couple of things go wrong, and Mum goes, "Go down to the hospital." I'm like, "Mum, I'll die if I go there. I'll die waiting." You know, that's the thing. You know, I know people that have waited 14, 15 hours, walked out. The woman in Minimal Hospital, who walked out and she died. This is not Zimbabwe. This is New Zealand.
Yeah.
And Minimal is a disgrace. Now, did they let that happen because, well, they just let it happen? No one's going to moan down there. Right, South Auckland, this is what you get. That's terrible.
It is terrible.
A woman walked in there for help and she walked out still waiting and died. Where's the fuss being made of that?
Yeah.
So did they cover the story?
Yeah, they got covered. Yeah. But she went in for some care and came out and died.
I mean,
That's negligence.
yeah,
you
it
know?
is. I mean, and
I'd screw the bastards if that was my mum.
absolutely, you should. They should.
It's not my mum, but
No, but did they?
Yeah.
Did they make a complaint about it? Did they?
oh, well,
get,
it depends what this family wanted to do, and you know, culturally they might be shy or they
Don't know
might-
the processes.
whatever, all that stuff, you
Yeah.
know. But we had, you know, we talk about mental health and stuff. We had 157 vacancies of psychiatrists last year. 157. I was doing an article.
Psychiatrists.
Yeah,
and
so
psychologists.
you know,
or?
shrinks that we're getting
Yeah.
men's head to see if we're okay. You know. I'm not sure about that guy. You know? So they're bringing an extra psychologist. Didn't
they increase it?
he's got problems. You know? They have deep problems. What are we going to do with this guy? Colin, what are we going to do? So, but there's no Colin. There's no Audrey. There's none of these psychiatrists around. 157 vacancies.
And yet they have such a limitation
What were
on
they
the entry,
doing?
right?
Oh,
Entry
not
of-
now. I think they've
just
opened the
increased
gates
it.
to get in there and do what you like.
Quickly.
We were too slow to open the gates. You know.
Too slow
We
on
shut-
everything.
We shut New Zealand off, put us into lockdown, and then John Key was right. Going into lockdown is easy. Coming out is hard, but you know when you come out, and we were just drifting. You know, our economy drifted. So the world chose Australia, and the world chose South Africa. The world chose Canada. The world chose Singapore. The best people, the best and brightest people, they all travel. They all do, you know, these things when you're young and you go to places. No one came here. We got one nurse in 3 weeks. One Filipino nurse in 3 weeks. She's going to be busy, you know, because they're the best nurses. New Zealanders don't work like we used to. You know, why don't we work in orchards anymore? You know?
Yeah, and they're bringing overseas RSC.
Oh
workers.
yeah, and those guys, by all accounts, they need the work and they got some good money for their village back home and stuff, and they're good workers, yeah. But what happened to us Kiwis?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
what is that? What's happening?
They'll pay good money now too. I've spoken to a number of orchardists who will pay $35 an hour, you know, $40 an hour. So the work's there. But when you give welfare so easily, and I'm not advocating to end welfare, but I think welfare is one of the most toxic policies you can give someone.
Yeah.
Because then you say, this is your lot. Now, if they're happy with that, this is just every week. I'm getting this $400.
Easy money.
Yeah, okay, the pokies make 800. You know, so they, you know, maybe it should be time limit welfare. Kids will suffer from them, I think, but and we give too much middle class welfare. Why does my mum get a heating allowance?
Does she?
Yeah, she got a heating, and it's still cold. But you know, so you know, there's comfortable middle class people are getting $80 a month or a week, whatever it was from Jacinda, for the heating allowance.
Yeah.
But what about the people down the road who've got no house?
Yeah. Yeah.
And why does it take so long to build in this country? Why have we not even allocated money for a second harbour crossing in 2023? Why did they say there was going to be a light rail to the airport and it would be completed by 2023? They said this in 2017. I thought, don't bullshit us, mate. And they did. And they haven't even turned the spade yet.
Yeah. A lot of promises.
Phil Twyford came out and said, Kiwi build 100,000 houses over 10 years. It was a slogan. The last time someone lived in a slogan was when, it was a slogan. It wasn't even a policy. They had nothing. They had nothing behind it.
And when that
we got suckered.
And when that cyclone hit, you could see the quality of those houses weren't even.
It was a big cyclone.
Being up to standard.
I know it was a big cyclone, but
that cyclone. I'll never forget this. This was like a moment from hell. I'm on air, right? It was Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. And it was 10 o'clock, it just hit 10 o'clock in the morning. We're still on air, we hadn't died yet, and we're not far away there. But anyway, so 10 o'clock, and I get this phone call from this guy. He was really upset, and he was sitting on the roof of his house in Hawke's Bay. Remember, news hadn't come through yet. No one knew anything. It was like another country, And I said, Harry, how are you, mate? Yeah, not good. I said, what's happening? The cyclone's come through. It's the first time I'd heard it that morning, and I was like, are you okay? He goes, I'm trying to find my wife. My car's in the top of the tree. The bank had given way down the back of the house. He's on the top of his roof. And I want to know where my wife is, he said. And my kids, they were with my wife. But my car's at the top of the tree. And I could just picture this. I thought, well, this is horrific. Next minute, the light started lighting up in front of me in the dash. And this woman, I'm looking for my husband. And I thought, oh shit, we have got this catastrophe in our hands. People had transistor radios with batteries in them, the old-fashioned thing.
oh, those ones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's more of a ghetto blaster.
No,
Those ones. Snoop Doggy Dog. But these were just the little transistor ones. And people were listening to other people's stories in the Hawke's Bay. They were in the valley across, but no one knew anything. There wasn't, flashy TV coverage. ZB was talking about bananas, cost of bananas, I think, at the time. I think they were jumping on the slipping on the skin. And we'd focused on this Hawke's Bay thing. See, we knew something wasn't right, and the light just lit up. And to this day, I still get emails from people saying, oh, well, we've recovered now. My name's Joan, and thank you very much for giving a shit about us. Yeah. And I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget the day that the country didn't know. I still feel guilty that, we did it the next day, and the boss is saying to me, do you think this is overload now, 3 days? And I'm like, fuck off. This is people's lives. Yeah. And radio was the technology that could get them through a little transistor, the sort of thing you might listen to a summer of cricket on, in comes Chatfield and he bowls now, So these people were connecting with us. And then you saw the pictures come through later in the evening, and they interviewed the same guy. That's that guy. That must be the guy, Harry. He's sitting on his roof still. All this shit. I think that why didn't the government go up there and set up a tent, like a one-stop shop? The money they allocate. There was $38 million in the Merrill Fund, $40 million in the Merrill Fund, and $20 million of it was unallocated. After the process went through, people got all their grants, and all these people missed out. They sent $20 million back to the government.
What?
I know. That's always corruption in itself. Yeah. Reopen it, and those people that missed out, if you're being conservative in the first place, what was your settings? What was your criteria? What the hell are you doing? Yeah. Have a tent, open access. The officials are all there. Do your job. Yeah. One insurance company had just one person working on it, and she was a temporary. She was a temp doing maternity cover because her mum rang me and said, I'm not going to say what the firm is. It's a big insurance firm, and she's in charge of the Hawke's Bay desk. She was 20 hours a week temporary on maternity cover with 6 weeks to go, and she was in charge of hundreds of... Yeah. No wonder they weren't getting settled.
Yeah. Well, the saddest thing is because me and Brad work for organisation that still work alongside families that were affected by the floods.
Yep.
That happened in Jan. We still got families that are still in those houses that have no carpet, and their houses are still messed up, and the only support that they have got is through organisations like us and stuff gifted by Brown Butter, BBM.
Yeah. Well, he took trucks down. I had people ringing me up when they heard these interviews, and they said, I'm going to go hire a truck, and I'm going to come and take it up to MediaWorks where you are, Duncan, and I want to invite the country to come and drop shit off, and we're going to take it down there. And they did. Wow. Yeah. But that was because people are good people. But where was the government coordination on this? They reckon you're on your own for 7 days in a big cyclone, in this country. We saw that. It was more than 7 days. They still are now. David Talley was like a god, taking this. But he takes his enthusiasm down too, you see, into spirit, because people need to see that.
Hope.
It's not. Yeah, they need to see hope, because without hope, it's like a life sentence, If you don't have hope, you have nothing. Yeah. Like sometimes the only thing that gets guys going is hope. Prisoners would ring me, And I don't judge, you know. I just sit back and take calls, you know. Shane on B block or D block or whatever out Parimoremo, you know, he's a bad man, Shane, but he's still someone's son, you know, and someone's wife, a husband. If he's someone's wife, that's inside. I don't know what you're doing there, Shane.
For Shane.
But Shane, he's a hard bastard, you know, and he's inside for 15 years. So
He rings you up.
So I got a phone call. Duncan Shane, I'm ringing from Parimoremo. You have 5 minutes. You know, it says on this, you know, this voice of God at the back. You have 2 minutes. You know, he goes, I'll ring you back. I said, well, how are you going to do that? He goes, I got my ways. But so the reason I'm telling you the story is because he's got a wife and kids, and he's doing it hard because he doesn't get visits anymore. Hasn't for 3 years because apparently corrections don't have the staff anymore. So these guys no longer see their families. Now, what's the one thing that keeps these guys alive and with hope? Their visits every Sunday from their wife or whatever, and their kids. I would just hit the wall. They've been good. They've stayed calm. I'd be out burning mattresses on the roof.
Yeah.
You know, I'd just lose it. But this guy rang me to tell me this is what's going on in their heads. I said, send your wife down and I'll interview her. So he did. We organised this. His wife comes down to the studio and he rings me from Parimoremo again. These guys are open access to phones now because they've got nothing else. So they're basically given phone cards now, 200 minutes a day, I think. Anyway, so she comes in, his wife, and he rings me. Hey, Duncan, Shane. I said, hey, mate, you got her there? I said, yeah. Hey, bit of eye candy, mate, for you. What do you reckon? Bit of eye candy, he says to me, from his cell. I looked at his wife and I said, yeah, I'll look after him, mate. Don't worry about that. And he's like, hey, whoa, what do you mean? I said, just joking, mate. Just playing it off. What are you going to do about it anyway, mate? Anyway, so he called her eye candy. I'm like, yeah, she's all right, mate. Yeah, what do you want me to say about this, mate? Anyway, so we did the interview and you could see that she wanted him out. He's got another 9 years to go. That's a long leg,
Yeah. Why was she not visiting him?
She's not allowed.
She's not allowed, right.
They've got those staff, so you can't. So the baddest bastards have all been, but most of the prisoners have got their families back now. Visits every Sunday, 45 minutes. You imagine it. She drives 4 hours for that 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But for them, they get that one hug at the start, and it's just, if you're inside for 15 years, if you're getting hugs inside, that's not good. If you don't know what's going on. But when you get one hug once a week from your partner, lasts maybe 2 seconds because they're worried about slipping contraband and stuff, you look forward to that. That's your big. We don't understand. We just don't get it.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So when a guy rings me like that on air, and can you give me the time of day, Duncan? I always do, and I'm open to it, and whatever you did, and you're inside, you're getting punished for that. Do you punish them again by not sending their families in? That's when guys top themselves, and that's when guys need to talk. Who's talking to them? Who's giving them rehab? Yeah. These guys are they're human beings.
That's where radio, that media,
powerful way.
Podcasts. And podcasts.
Yeah.
But with the radio, you don't, because with podcasts you have to have Wi-Fi. You've got to be able to access that.
Thank God for that
radio,
broadband.
Radio, you get it via frequency and just a little bit of electricity.
Radio. These guys
powerful.
inside have got lots of time on their hands, so they're really good at table tennis.
Yeah.
They're really good at powerlifting and all that sort of stuff. And they're good at following the media, I found. I will be walking through town one day and, hey, Duncan, my name's Philip, hey, mate, how are you? Oh, it's done 10 years, mate, I watched you every day or something,
That's cool.
Yeah. I wish they'd ticked a few boxes in the survey for today, might still be. We got the prisoners watching, guys.
What is it, Duncan? What is it about? Because it is interesting, Duncan. But people are ringing you and calling you. What is it about you in particular as to why people are calling you? What is it?
I'll tell you what it is. I've never promised anything, and if I've promised it, I'll do it. So there's a guy called Taina Pora. He's a South Auckland boy. Yep. He got put away for 22 years. For a crime he didn't do. And I know he didn't do the crime because he stole cars. He had no history of violence or sex crimes. And suddenly he was being pinned by the police in the most corrupt of charges and cases. And he did 22 years inside Parimoremo prison. For the first 10 years he had no visitors. For the first 10 years he had, so for 3,600 odd days, he had not one visitor. Can you imagine sitting in this room for 10 years? I'll come back and see you in 10 years.
And seeing everyone else go visit their farm.
But he didn't do it. And so a really good police officer called Tim McKinnell, he resigned from the cops because he knew he didn't do it. He went to Pitimutu and tried to see Tainer, and I'll take on your case. He said, Tainer wouldn't see him, didn't trust him. Why would you? And then he saw him, and then he realised, put it all together. We got involved as the media, and we put that story together, and he got him out, you know.
Wow.
And the media walk away from that. You know, I never walk away. Because Tainer said to me when he got out, I'd love to go fishing. Because he'd been inside for 22 years. So when he came out, the phone booths are suddenly telecom phone booths, not those red ones, and then we've got cell phones, and he's never done any of this shit, you know. Everything's changed, you know. You're wearing old clothes, Tainer, 1989, bro. You know. So all these things have changed. And then he goes, "Oh, can you take me fishing?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take you for a spin in my car first, go down the motorway." So we'll open it up, and he liked that. And then I went up to his apartment, and I said, "I can learn from you too. How come your bed's in the lounge?" He goes, "Bro, when you have the smallest cell all your life, you want the biggest room when you get out." It made sense, you know. So in the bedroom was the dining table, and I said, "We'll go fishing tonight. I'll take you fishing." All the media had split and run by then, you know. This is my own time, but I enjoy it. You get to know the real person, you know, when the cameras are off, you know, and you can learn lots and stuff. So I took him fishing. I said, "Where's your rod? You gave it to me." I gave it back to him. He goes, "Can you put it together for me?" I said, "Well, can you do it?" No, he can't. Never had a dad. Never got taught. No one's doing fishing courses inside Buttabean prison. If something fishy's going on there, it's not fishing, you know. So I showed him. He goes, "Can you show me, please, what the knots and everything?" So I'm suddenly realising, because he's exactly the same age as me by about a month, you know. So it's the same, all the things that I experienced, he didn't, but he heard about them. It's tough on the guy. So, and then the media was told, you know, he's got all these slowness things going on. He's a sharp operator. He's you know, I got to know the real Tainer, and, you know, he rang me one night and he said, "Duncan, Tainer." I said, "Hey." He goes, "Can you do a job for me in the morning?" And I said, "What sort of job, boss?" He goes, "Can you drive to Auckland Domain?" Because you are asking me the question, why do they ring me? "Can you drive to Auckland Domain and my mate of mine, Casey, is under the stand there shitting himself because he was on Crime Watch or whatever it is last night. They're going to shoot him because he's an active shooter." And I said, "Okay, yeah, do you want yeah. Is he big?" And he goes, "No, but he'll be waiting for you. I told him that you'd do it." I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it then." So I told TV3 they wanted to get me a security guard, and I'm like, I'll take my mum, you know. Well, like, what are we going to do here? I can handle myself. So I drove up to the Auckland Domain, and it was quiet, and I heard this rustling under the... I drove through a checkpoint to get there because they're looking for him, right? I'm like, shit, this is all on. I love this stuff. And he came out sweating, and because he'd been on the run for 2 weeks, you know. They wanted to shoot him. He had firearms charges. And he goes, "Duncan," I said to Casey, "Hey, mate, Hongi," shake hands. "Can you get me back in one piece?" And I said, yeah. Yeah, just jump in the car. So he jumps in the car, and I'm driving through the domain. He goes, "Stop here, bro, stop here." I go to the toilet. So he goes to the toilet, grabs his Vaseline, puts it around his phone, and up his bum. And no, I'm telling you the truth. And then I drop him back at the cop shop, and they take him to custody again, and he gets another 4 weeks on the sentence. How do I know this? Because at 11 o'clock at night, boop, out came the phone. He texts me,
What?
all in capitals, "Duncan, I got 4 weeks. I'm out on June the 2nd. Can you please pick me up from Mount Eden?" No worries, bro. You want me to do that? Fine. 4 weeks later, I went back to the prison, standing outside, you know. A couple of the guards who passed, "Here to check yourself in finally, mate." I said, "Yeah, mate." Funny, how many times you used that line on me. And then I see this figure walking out, and it's Casey. I haven't only met him once before, you know. And he goes, "You're here, bro." And I said, "Well, you told me what the date was, and I've come back." He goes, "I've been let down my whole life, mate. No one ever, you know." And I suddenly realised, you know, if you do something for someone, you say you're going to do it, and you do it, it is actually quite buzzy for them, because their father might have said, you know, "Oh, I'll come and watch you this weekend, son." They didn't know their father. There wasn't a dad on the scene, you know. That's another whole podcast. Eh? But so, and I haven't seen him since. But we dropped him back at his halfway home in Henderson. His pit bull terrier was waiting for him. He put his vest on and all that sort of stuff, and I was gone. But subsequently, I've heard him. Apparently, he's talked about me to other guys, and in really honest and good ways. Like, he hasn't just gone and thrown me under the bus or whatever. He said, you can trust this guy. So I've heard from some of his friends when they needed favours. It's usually getting them back alive to a police station when they're on the run or something. So I got to know a few of these gangsters, and, end of the day, they are someone's son, and they're not much different to you, except that they jumped on the wrong walker one night, and I'm friends with a guy who left the headhunter 6 years ago. I got to know him. He's one of the fathers in our team. He's a big man who's done a lot of violence, bank robberies, beatings and stuff, and he's a bad man. But he got out 6 years ago, and he's driving down he legitimately got out. The heads beat the shit out of him for leaving the gang, and they put 2 guys into the prison unit and beat him up. Anyway, he gets out of prison, and I didn't know him at this stage. He drove down my street. There was a police operation in my street because there was a gang member across the road living. I was always talking. You get this stuff. And so he comes down, he drives down with his son, and he's legitimately out, and he stops outside my house. He goes, "Hey, you fell off on the AM show. Can we get a selfie, mate?" Yeah. Big guy hops out, get a selfie. "How you been?" He didn't tell me anything about prison, then nothing. I didn't know anything. And then 6 years later, as in a couple of months ago, this guy turns up at our rugby team with his son. I looked at him and I thought, we don't know this guy. Was it a nightclub or a bar or a rugby game? Well, I don't know this guy. And he goes up to me, "Duncan, Ricky." And I said, "Ricky, remind me how I know you, mate." He goes, "I got a selfie with you outside your house. Remember 6 years ago?" I said, "That's right, with your son." Yeah, that's him now. I said, "Gee, but bigger." I said, what was the deal with you?" He goes, "I just got out of prison that day." And I said, Now it makes sense. He told me his whole story. And he was abused by his father sexually and physically, him and his sister. He went away for 5 years for that, and he just stewed for 5 years and came back and did it again, So these guys have had shit lives, we got to understand that. There's a reason why they write those cultural reports, that the National Party, they want to get rid of them. But they tell a story, People aren't just bad. No. They're turned into monsters by a monster, Yeah. And that generation before him, they got a lot to answer for, The state had care of some of these people, and they were pedophiles. Yeah. State-sponsored pedophilia, or state-sponsored mongrels that were looking after these kids. Yeah. If you hand your kids over to Oranga Tamariki, you cross your fingers and toes, You don't know where they're going.
No, you don't.
So and where's the accountability for that? You can say sorry all you like. Did you charge them? Did you take them to court? So, yeah, in my job, you got to be who you are. You have to don't overpromise. You got to be authentic and real. Yeah. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. I've sort of morphed into. I used to be a political journalist. Covering budgets and all those. The best thing when I got out of there, I went to the homes program when I had to cover this young 18-year-old woman who won Miss Horowhenua. And so one minute I was doing all these budgets and things like yawn, and next minute, "Hello, darling. You're Miss Horowhenua, well done." This 18-year-old who won it, she's trying to get herself a magazine deal for $500 or something, And the year earlier, I was political editor doing all these stories on the bloody budget. Next minute, I'm interviewing Miss Horowhenua. There's another world out there,
Yeah, I don't.
Especially for Miss Horowhenua. So, what I found when I left Wellington and came to Auckland and did radio and stuff, I've become more a well-rounded journalist, maybe more empathetic. Sometimes you'd be chasing stories down there. You thought this is the most important thing. What a load of horse shit. It just wasn't relevant to people's lives. What's relevant? Cost of living, violence, gangs, how you live your life. Can you afford your rent? Do you have a house, a warm, dry house? Are your kids healthy? Those are the things that matter. Yeah. Not some of the stuff we used to chase down there. I'm a bit embarrassed about some of it, but you're learning that stuff,
Have you found that it's like in the decades? Because we're talking decades now, eh? You started in that area around the early 1990s.
I started I graduated in 93. And I was in Taranaki Daily News. I was a sports reporter. I love that job.
Taranaki?
Yeah. Daily News.
Yeah. From North Shore to Westlake to Taranaki.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and I couldn't wait to get away from North Shore. And there's more than just white people in New Zealand.
Different shades of brown.
Holy shit! As I went to Taranaki, I loved that job, and the people were so good to me. The two sports editors, Murray Hills, Gordon Brown, I still keep in touch.
That's so good.
Yeah, good people, Yeah. Good earthy people, Played rugby down there. It was all fun. Paid $25 a week rental. That was good, Then I went, got an internship at TVNZ. myself and this woman called Lucy Hockings, who does the BBC. She has a BBC show. Her brother died in the Loafers Lodge fire. I remember her brother a lot. He used to always hanging around. He's one of the victims of that fire in Wellington, you know.
Oh.
Why are we living in those accommodations?
Yeah.
Why? I used to live next to that place in Wellington when I first started having kids. Rented this house just above it. And I remember that getting turned into it used to be a paint store or something. It got turned into a lodge. And I say, that's dodgy. That's our standard of living.
Yeah.
We're no better than third world countries then if people are going to die in their beds.
Yeah.
You know, this is almost like halfway house sort of thing, you know. No regulations, no fire sprinklers.
Jeepers.
You know, we have all this fire, health and safety rules and people with cones and vests coming out their ears. But we didn't have fire safety, you know. Didn't have sprinklers here.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
good.
Yeah, and there's an ugly alarm that goes off.
Yeah, but at least it goes off, you know. I've sort of waffled through some things there, but you know, we have those lodges. We have people living in motels. Well, are we a poor country, or we are a country that no longer knows how to do it quickly and big? We don't have scale, you know. We have muppets.
But has it changed? Like, is it still the same issues from when you started?
How's this? Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I hear that all the time from people who come out of government roles or government positions.
Same shit.
They're like,
Different day.
They're like, you're sitting like I sit in the suicide prevention space, and I'm talking to them on the plane across from the other aisle, really loud, and they're like, "Man, these stats that you think you're trying to bring down, they've been around for decades."
In 1935, they built state houses, right? I used to live in one in Wellington. They built 72,000 of them in a year. Now, come forward to 2021, 22, 23, and this government was crowing for building 5,800 homes over 3 years. We've done a great job. We built 5,800 homes. It'll fold in a bit of wind anyway. Yet in 1935, without any of the technology we have now, without any of the products, and the technology and the skills, they built 72,000 state houses in 1 year. How could they do it then, and they can't do it now?
Yeah,
Because they choose not to do it now.
was that under Longy?
And when? 1935?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said
no,
80.
no,
I thought you said 1985.
No.
Sorry, you said
1935 was
just after depression.
Michael Joseph Savage. So it was the beginning of the welfare state. But they still built 70,000 homes. Now, in saying that, most people were unemployed because it was after the depression, so they all built these homes, you know. Yeah. It was a community thing. But we can do this. Or can we not? Too many health and safety rules, you know, too many cones, too many traffic things.
Is that what's holding this up?
Oh, I think bureaucrats are.
Yeah.
The money's there. Just do it.
The engine.
What engine?
The bureaucrats.
Yeah, well, it's not even an engine. It's putty. I mean, where's the big ideas? We don't want anything too big. They tried transformation. You know? We're going to solve this and that. And, you know, only the Greens are still talking about that. But you got to do what's realistic. You know, you got to do what's achievable. Don't bullshit and promise the country stuff that you know you can't achieve. I'm so critical of Phil Twyford about this. He lied to mislead people. We didn't even need middle class housing. We needed emergency housing. We didn't need McMansions and Howick. We needed small places where we could fit people. You know, in Auckland, there's no men's shelter.
There isn't.
There's no men's shelter for. Well, there's the mission, but that's not. There's no men's shelter they can turn up to, and have a bed for the night. You know, in Wellington, there's shelters everywhere. I don't know why, but there just is. Auckland, there's not.
So because we have women's shelters, right?
Women's refuge,
and that's based on. But that's the criteria for that is domestic violence, and so for men, and I think it's Christchurch who are really trying to push for men who've experienced domestic violence in their relationships, and they're really trying to push for those kind of services. But you're right, there isn't.
You know, women's refuge. The night that you know, have you heard of Baby Mockle? Baby Mockle was killed in Taupo,
Yeah.
And so I read this report. I read the coroner's report. He was 3 years old. He was executed over 6 weeks by these two caregivers who threw him up against the walls and kicked him out. He looks like my son. My son was the same age. And it was 10 to 3, and I was about to go on Radio Live, the drive show, the afternoon show. And I had this 10-minute skim read of this report. And I felt my eyes welling up. I was sensitive going, things like this affect me. I read this thing. I read this report into this boy's death. Who's this boy? And then I saw the lawyer's name in there, and I emailed her. I said, where's the mum? Well, the mum was in the Auckland hospital with another child at the time. looking after them. She was turned down by Women's Refuge. She didn't meet some criteria, so she was staying at the hospital. And the boy was getting killed slowly down in Taupo. And I asked if I could interview her. And they said yes. So I met her at LSE Racecourse, this neutral place, and she was angry woman, really furious with the state and the system. I'm just a Palangi guy a journalist who showed some interest, and she tattooed the names of her kids down here, all the hurt and the anger. I a lot of guys were saying, "Oh, that doesn't come across well." Shut up! She lost her kid. It's just some ink, mate. Deal with it. I don't even see that stuff. I really don't. And so I did this interview with her, and I just felt for her. She'd got involved and had a gang guy husband. It just happened. Some one minute you're not, next minute you're pregnant with this gang guy. It just happened, and she had lots of work to do. To get her kids back and everything, and so. I wrote about this and I talked about this and I said, how are we doing this in this country? I said, we're going to march for moko. We're going to march for moko. And I wrote an article and I went to the sentencing of these two mongrels and I realised that morning, I turned on the news and they were marching for moko right around the country, all these people. And I was like, oh, this is good. Because I was with my wife then, but during that whole thing, I went to the spare room and would lie at night and just think about this kid, like this, and I lost sleep over it. I think it was the beginning of the end of my marriage, that shit, I just never recovered from this. And then the Nicola, the mum, I met her down in Rotorua to make sure these two bastards went away. They got maximum sentences of 17 years, whatever that means. It means that their kids are missing out on parents too. And she said, Duncan, I need one more thing. I need a job. I won't get my kids back, other kids back from welfare, if I don't have a job. And I said, okay, let me think about it. So I went back home. She went her way, and I said, I can't find you a job because every person I rang, they didn't want the gang mum with the tattoo face, and each to themselves. So I always said, I'll get you a job. I don't want to let her down, you see. So I'm driving out to Manukau City here to pick her up. She's still angry, and less angry, looked a little bit softer, still angry. She thought I had a job for her, because I didn't say I didn't, So I'm racking my brain all the way down State Highway 20. He's got a job, and I'm driving along here. And then I went past the Marae, and that's Willie Jackson. Now, I know Willie well through politics and radio and stuff. I rang him up and said, Willie, I've got a deal for you, mate. I've got some workers for you. So, baby Moko, and he goes, oh, the one with the tattoos. And I said, stop being so non-Māori. You're Māori. And I'm lecturing him. I said, you got to have my back here, mate. I'm gonna go pick her up. I'll be there in 20 minutes. What? 20 minutes? What do you mean? I said, design a job, mate. So anyway, I picked her up. Are you all right? She's cool, fine. And nervous. Where are you taking me? You got my job? And I'm like, yeah, I got your job, mate. The phone was just hanging up, And I drove straight down to the Marae, and Willie's there. Whirlwind stuff, It's all organised, okay? And I took her in, this is Nicola and Willie, and then he sort of kicked into his, kia ora, hug. And then I think he's in front of me, he said, what's the tattoos? Willie, shut up! What? Shut up! Anyway, she's heard all that before. And he gave her a job, because they've got all sorts of, Willie's got all the things going that go, who knows what's going on, and he put her in charge of something, you can just run that office, but there. 5 years later, she's running the entire Marae, all his businesses and all the business enterprises, and he would ring me every now and then and say, oh, I'm so proud of her. I said, I told you, Willie. What do you mean you didn't believe me, Like, hey, she has a business degree. Anyway, recently, I've always been in touch with her. Recently, she texted me to say that her ex was saying dumb things he was on social media saying, people's on social media telling people how great they are, right? Everyone's amazing. All these people that have never done anything wrong and they look amazing, and then you meet them and say, you're a bit different. So she had a beef with the husband again. Don't get me involved too much. What can I do? She says, I just want to come on your podcast and put the record straight. I said, you're welcome. Anyway, I hadn't seen her for a couple of years. She came in and the tattoos on the side here had come off her face, but she'd actually done this full moko around her face. It really suited her. and she looked $1 million. Her mind was just on the spot. She had all her kids with her. They looked healthy, fit, talkative, engaging. You can tell kids that are, onto it. And they love their mum. And then she spoke with, she was a counsellor, alcohol, drug counsellor for people. And she told me amazing, 45 minutes we just spoke. And I still feel the hurt in her, but she's like my sister,
Yeah.
And she was just remember how it started? I read the report into the, journalists have got to read that, just don't waiting for something to run in the Herald, just, we've lost a lot of this, the coroner's reports, and there was the funeral director, Chelsea was her name, it was 10 to 3, but before I go in there, I got this call, and I saw it come out, didn't recognise the number, but it was from Topol, and she goes, Kia ora, Duncan, my name's Chelsea, I was the funeral director the night. I said, hang on a second, I was going to a room. I went into this, the news boss's little cubicle, because I could feel myself going, what's this all about? I shut the door, and she told me about the night that she took him, he died, and she hugged him and protected him as they flew him to Auckland, and I'd never told Nicole of this. I was hearing it for the first time, and I meant to be on air in 2 minutes, and I'm like, that's too much for me. And I'm sitting in the news boss's cubicle thing here, and she's telling me this. She's bawling her eyes out. She'd never told anyone the story, and she just wanted to tell me, that she had this moment with baby Moko and everything. He was badly bruised and beaten, and I waited 5 years to tell Nicole. I couldn't bring. Every time I went to do it, I didn't have the courage to tell her, and I told her during this podcast, and she said, "I knew." I was waiting for you to tell me. I knew that you knew. Because I've subsequently heard, and she wasn't angry, just like, I was wondering when you were going to tell me, and I said, I didn't know how to do it, I was still raw, 5 years on. She's my friend, now, and I'm proud of, I'm proud of her. At the day at the court, it was all over, and I was downstairs in the toilet, and I felt the door open behind me, and I thought, who's this? Oh, this line of blue scarves and things. I'm like, I want to take on there, and I'm like, how many are there? I'm trying to look in the reflection on the urinal. That's not quite, old-fashioned styles. It wasn't really a mirror. It was like, there's a few guys there. I turned around. There's 5 Black Power guys there because the father was BP, and he's in the middle, a short guy, and the other guys are big guys. And I turned around. What can I do you for, lads? What's the deal? And he stepped forward, really respectful of the father, and he said, Kia ora, Duncan. Thank you for caring about my son. Wow. And he was so respectful, all of them, because initially you could have gone, what have we got here? On my shoes? And he shook my hand, Hongi, and these guys, and they just sort of, thank you, boss. And so they were really respectful, How you treat people in life is really important, because it's what you'll get back. So if people feel like they're getting a rough deal in life from people who are treating them badly, have a look at yourself. And my dad was a good man like this. He was quite reserved, and he loved a good time and a fun guy, but I never ever really remember him saying anything bad about anyone. And I always remember him being a very sympathetic guy, and a helpful guy, caring guy, and I look at some people now that some people are rude to them, whatever. Well, maybe you were just rude to them. Did you hear the way you spoke to them? Some people don't even hear and see themselves anymore. They're so entitled with their lives. My life's more important than you. Out of the way, please. Well, I'm on the queue too, pal. So just wait, too. If there's not enough. So I'm a huge believer in karma. I'm not a religious guy, but I think I believe in karma. Like karma's a powerful tool. Powerful.
Do you get your empathy from your dad and your mum?
Mum's tough. Mum will watch and listen to this, so I need to be very careful.
Because the reason why I say, I love hearing your story. I've seen you be empathetic on TV. I've seen you do a lot of what you're sharing on the breakfast show. But the thing that blows me away is a lot of people who are empathetic are quick to turn it off. They won't respond. They will protect themselves. Whereas you're not. You're just.
I see some people in the media turn on and off like that, and it's what you do in your private time that defines you. So I have this rule where I'm always me, you know. So, you know, I had an email the other day from Bobby. Now, Bobby was one of the women behind the assisted dying, you know, the euthanasia bill. And she had blood cancer, you know. I hadn't heard from her for a long time. She was on the AM show with me, fun, lively, and responsible for that bill. I got an email the other night at 10:53 at night, and it said, Duncan, it's Bobby. I'm on the road now. My cancer is serious. I've got the certificate to die. I've signed up to assisted dying. And I thought, because it means she's going to die in the next 6 months. She's going to take her own life. She's going to have her life taken by lethal injection.
Yeah.
That's quite daunting to think. It's quite. 1 minute you're dealing with her as a person, next minute you're dealing with her, you know she's going to go soon. It's so confronting. But this woman's just a huge bouncy ball of action and fun and everything. But I could hear it in those words, you know. So I emailed her back and I said, you owe me one last interview on the podcast. I'm coming to get you. I'll come and do it at your house. And I'm just waiting to hear what the reaction's going to be. But of all the people she could have, I haven't spoken to her probably 5 years. Of all the people she was thinking about or whatever, she
reached out to you.
Yeah. And it's like people in the Hawke's Bay. There was the one lady that when it was all happening, she rang her friends in Auckland. Get Duncan Garner to ring him. Tell him, you know, he'll do something. And I do feel a weight of expectation because I can't always meet the expectation. Well, what am I going to do again? I tried to get visits back from the corrections guys, and I think that's happening now too. And then they rang me back. Any chance of conjugal rights, boss? Which, of course, you know, the old hello. I can't. Don't know if we can do that, mate. Give it a go. Throw the leg over. See what happens, you know. But I don't know, you know. But there's sometimes, you know, it's just you can. Sometimes I feel not worthy because I don't know if I can achieve that, or you know, I'll go home. There's 5 emails and everyone's asking for a different thing. I'm like, I need staff, you know. But you're on your own, you know. I've never had a PA or an EA or whatever. I answer all my own.
Wow.
I answer all my own emails. Oh no, at the moment I've got someone to do the social media thing.
Yeah.
But no, you got to be yourself because
Good.
Yeah, you got people expect things of you.
Yeah.
But I never sign up to something I can't achieve. I'd rather say, sorry, bro. I can't turn around De La Salle's first 15, mate. You know, some things are just too hard. You know?
It's too crimson.
We're going to need a few years. Eh? So some things, you know, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of, you know, like assisting kids or coaching or doing that. You know, I got a call from one of the dads. My son didn't even go to the school. It was Blockhouse Bay Intermediate, you know. And they had 50 boys going to a league tournament the next day. And the coach, the guy, my mate, he was meant to be coaching them. He didn't show up. He had something going on at the workshop. So the other dad rings and says, Duncan, do you know what? You do some league coaching? Can you come and help these boys? Oh, mate, I'd love to. So I was on the motorbike up there, and I had these 50 boys. I knew a couple of them because they'd played in our club team. I thought, well, what are we going to do? We've got 2 hours to, you know, and they're going to be playing Kelston and GEI and all these boys. So there's some big units there, you know. So we're putting through this hard-ass 2 hours, eh? And I said, you guys got to be on board. You got to listen to me. If you listen to me, I'll do something for you. If you don't listen to me, you can't help yourself. Anyway, we did the session. One guy broke his nose. Another guy, they'd never done anything like it. I was waiting for the principal to nail me for health and safety or something. You know? Oh, they're wusses. Anyway, I didn't go to the game the next day. I had to work. But I got the report back at the end of the day. They won 2, lost 1. They beat Kelston. They beat St Paul's. And these are the league schools, you know. And I was so proud, you know, from a distance. And I saw one of the boys weeks and weeks later in the street. He goes, "Sir, we beat them." And I said, "I heard, mate. Well done. Did you smash them?" "Absolutely, bro. Hard." You know, and it was, you know, I was so proud that he remembered me and he yelled out from across the street, "We smashed them, bro." You know, like, good on you, mate.
Yeah,
because we lost a few guys at training. We're going so hard, you know. stuff we're not able to do at the other school at the club. I thought, well, I'm going to do it here. See what these boys are up to, you know. One poor guy, he broke his jaw, I think. But yeah. But, you know, I enjoy that stuff, eh? It's, you know,
it sounds
it's
like
so easy to do too, you know. It's so easy to, you know, impart what you know. I've got a mate of mine who played for New Zealand softball for years and years, you know, real top sportsman, you know. Well, they partied as hard as he, you know, because that was the 90s, you know. The team that never got recognition anyway. He's a pro, man, you know. He understands sport like, you know, it's like a science. He's taught me a lot of things about, you know, getting extra working with people and getting extra performance out of them and stuff. Everyone's different, eh? Everyone's an individual, you know. You got to work out. Got it right with the Warriors this year, right? The Wars. Got it right with the Wars.
But did he share any secrets on that? Is it a personality thing? Is it a is it engagement, connection? Is it boundaries? Like, what was his insight?
It's working out what makes them tick, you know.
Yeah.
Telling them something that actually
eh?
works. Telling them something that works, and then they believe you, and they believe in the process. You imagine being, you know, you're under Ian Foster, and he's telling you this is what we'll do.
You want to use him?
We're telling, well, yeah, because it doesn't work.
Fuzzy.
We're telling you this. We're telling you this. We'll do this. We'll do this. And we'll beat the Irish. They did this and they did this and they got beaten by the Irish. You don't believe the systems. So there's this whole saying: you believe in the systems, and it'll get there. And so it did for them in the softball team. They won everything. And it did work for Hansen and those guys, not so much for Foster. So that's why the All Blacks might be second guessing themselves. Then suddenly, at that top level, when you second guess at top 5%, sure, gone. You know. So I'm surround myself with people that I can learn from as well.
Yeah.
They don't even know that I'm pinching their shit, you know. But but I'm sure they do mine too. But you know, you learn people around you. You know, like the best people usually are the people around you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, companies go to replace people all the time, but when I look at who goes out the door at the end of the day, these are brilliant people.
And they go with all their industry knowledge.
They go with all this institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
And the best people are actually in your building, you know.
Yeah.
Even here, you know, the best people are here.
Right here.
They're not because you guys have got chemistry but none of you are overbearing, and you've hardly said a bloody word actually.
It's like that.
Imagine I was getting paid per word, I'd be retiring. Like Jeff Wilson.
It's like that Alibaba guy. The guy who owns Alibaba. Like, he had all these local people that helped build his business. Then he came to the US, hired all these US MBA people, and they were just caca. And then he was like, and then he went, and his business started to down spiral, went back to his origins, and it just flourished again.
Yeah, it's
so
like refugees, you know. Not many of them come here and end up in trouble. They just want to work and get a chance again, you know.
Yeah, that's
a chance, you know.
Yeah.
You're just going to stuff that up. I do worry that New Zealanders are. I hate it when I hear people say, "Oh, New Zealanders are lazy." We're not lazy. We've worked our ass off for nothing for a long time.
So what are we if we're not lazy?
Oh, I think we've become a little bit entitled.
Ooh.
In the last few years, you know, just a little bit.
Is it a generational thing, or is that societal?
Well, are you blaming baby boomers, or? I mean,
no, I'm not. I'm just
I am. No, we could. I just think that we've become a little bit, you know, lots of handouts during COVID, so people just want to keep going. But there's no free lunch, you know.
Yeah.
And there's just not. You gotta do the mahi, you know. Plus, it feels good too, you know. It's worth it.
I want to ask you a question. I want to go back to when you were saying that thing about men's shelters.
Oh yeah.
Why there's not enough of why
there's not one.
Yeah. Because do you think there's a real need for it?
You been in Auckland City lately? So I make it my mission to go around. You know, I write for the NBR once a week.
Yeah.
So I go from MediaWorks to NBR on my electric motorbike through the city. Everyone thinks, "Who's that gangster?" And they look at it and go, "Oh, no motor." You know, it's got quiet. What's wrong with that guy? Weirdo. So, but I go through the streets and I see it's all there. It's like a dumping ground. I got a mate of mine in one of those high-rise buildings downtown. Inside that building is all the 501s from Australia, the worst foreign policy in the world, sending people back here with no connection, and getting 70% of them have reoffended. Because wouldn't you? You got nothing here.
Yeah.
All they got is their brothers in arms, you know. They got no money. All you do, we'll head up to Michael Hill and get the kids in there. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the worst ever foreign policy, which indicates to me that the Australians aren't our friends, you know. They might be close geographically, but they've screwed us. They've sent back 3,000 mainly men who have done some bad shit. Some of them have done some bad shit 30 years ago, but they've moved on. They're good people now. It's just a terrible policy because they've dumped them isolated, without hope and without their families. And what happens then? They revert to what they know. 10,000 crimes have been committed.
Wow.
It's quite a few, eh?
Of course.
What was the question?
Men's shelters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because you were sort of heading that way, but then we...
Well, not at that state of my life just yet. You're heading that way.
Because you're saying that we have a whole heap of women's shelters, and
we
I'm
do,
saying that we have them for domestic violence reasons, but for men's shelters...
We need men's shelters.
Yeah.
Because men... you're only a couple of decisions away, bad decisions away from, you know, losing where you live or, you know, for me, for instance, like I live with my mum at the moment. I thought I'd bring it up before you guys brought it. She's quite good fun. But I'm 49 years old, living with my mum, it's like, because I'm sold the house because my marriage is over, and I don't know what to do, I'm sort of transitioning, like, I don't want to buy that house, it's too much. What have I got left? Okay, maybe I'll go north. I don't want to, I can't. You've got to make the right call, you see, and the market's all over the show, and I'm not a financial markets guy. I sort of do my research.
You're right about it.
Hey? I live with mum, she's good. Yeah. Any juice? No, but she's fun, she's like a friend, So, but I can't stay there forever, You don't get your girlfriend living with your mum, not that that's the aim.
That's really funny, Duncan.
Hey?
Hey, Duncan, you've told some amazing stories. A lot of the events that you've done thus far, and a lot of the people that you've helped out. And so, just wondering, because you invest in so many people and so much time on helping other people. What do you do? What does it do for you in terms of, obviously you talk about your family and obviously your marriage and so forth, or the divorce. How has it been for you in terms of who takes care of you in terms of all that stuff that you do?
Yeah, so I've got a few mates, and we. There's the plane. Yeah, it's not too bad. I've got mates that come around. I've got a couple of mates who play sort of high level sport or rugby or whatever, and they'll just turn up at my house, and I know, and they suffer depression because they were once something, and now they're, running the Sparky business. They just, and they think they've fallen, whatever, but they haven't. It's a natural cycle of life, So they're around a lot. Those guys, they'll look after, always looking after me. My mum's been amazing.
Yeah,
really amazing, and so, but we've been there for each other. She needs. I think she needs me.
Yeah.
As she said the other day, it's been wonderful having someone else in the house.
Yeah.
So noise, a noise.
Are you quite loud?
Well, when I sneak out at night, I try and be really quiet. But everything seems to be noisy, and I'm sneaking out at midnight. And the door makes a creak, and there's the wooden floor. God, go out in the socks next time, eh? So the other people, I largely, I'm like, to your question, I have always compartmentalised things. I'm strong enough to compartmentalise, and so I put that issue there and I put that issue there. But when your marriage is breaking up, and and your communication breaks down to the point that you're no longer talking to each other for one reason or the other, and you're dealing through lawyers, which is just debilitating and financially paralysing. It is hard sometimes to be up, So I had to put it on sometimes to, get through that day. But you're still breathing, there's still hope, you've still got my kids, and they're all healthy and all that stuff. So it's a perspective thing, I try and compartmentalise, and I put it into perspective, and, it's going to change things for you. You're going to sell your house, and you're going to be in this transitional phase. But there's people worse off than you, and you just learn from it and deal with it, become a better person as a result of it. It's all those things that people say, and they always sound like cliches, but I'm having to do it, It's all very well saying, oh, well, I'm here for your boss or whatever. But are you? If I go around to that guy's house who said that, hey, mate, it's me, it's 11 o'clock at night, I'm not feeling very good in the head. I just thought I'd come around. You said to come around if I needed help. Did you mean that? See, we just say these things. Yeah, let us know if you need a hand. Well, every time I say that to someone, they actually ring me up and go, hey, can you help me move, bro? There's one guy, a friend of mine, he said, oh, yeah, if you need a hand, I said, let me know. Next minute, he rings me up. And 5 hours later, I took him out to Beachlands, which is halfway to bloody Australia. And I'm driving the truck and everything. I was like, well, I did mean if you need a hand, I'll give you a hand. My whole day was gone. Driving, then I got stopped by a cop, and I'm like, doing 60 to 50 or some shit. And I said, officer, I'm just helping my mate. Can you please give me a break? He goes, okay, yeah. So, but, sometimes those things happen to me. Like, let me know if you need a hand, I'll do it. They come and say, yeah, I need a hand. Oh, okay, let's go. So we're doing it. So I've got some good mates that have been around. So I go to Hokianga because they're always there. And my son Buster's been amazing. Yeah. Just his presence, he's a mature boy. He's mature beyond his years, and he's a deep thinker. And he tells me I'm immature at times. I say, I'm just trying to keep it real, mate. It's fun.
That's cool.
And he's like shakes his head. Oh, pathetic, this guy. And he's 12. But. So they're all little mini rocks in my life, you know.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Duncan.
Yeah.
Because often when I see you, especially on the AM show, you always talk about Buster now and then, your son. So obviously, is a big part in terms of obviously in terms of relationship that you guys have, and so it's massive. And your son and your mum.
Yeah, well, when my wife left and went to Wellington, you know, people thought, he must have gone too, but it was first day of the AM show. I got this boy at home. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to get to work, mate. He's 6. What are you going to do, leave him? So you suddenly have to rework your house and make it all work. But we're human beings. We're flexible. We're quite hopeful, and we can do this shit, you know.
Yeah.
We've survived all sorts of things before. I don't know how long we've been here for, but quite a while. And we'll do it again, you know. We always get through it, you know. That's how I feel about the country at the moment. Everyone's a bit down, and it's all a bit grey, and it's all a bit, you know, lacking in colour and ambition and hope and everything. It's just it's us. It's all our mindset. Just turn it on its head, you know.
Yeah.
Matariki could do that, you know. Just.
It's a reset, Matariki.
I think it is.
It's a reset. We need
It's
this
exactly
reset.
it's actually what I've called it in my pre-recorded podcast for tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
It's all on my shelf ready to go.
Yeah.
But I've called it that. I think it's a personality reset, or it's a people reset, or a couple reset, or just where am I heading in my life? Right, I want to change that to this, and you might use Matariki as your pivot point. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to keep being relevant, eh? You know, it's
absolutely.
and that's not easy as you get older and technology changes, and you know, I'm still here. I still have a broadcast. You know, I bet you this will happen. You watch this. It will be election night coming up shortly, right? For the last 100 years, I've fronted it, or you know, Tova and I did it last time for 3, and I did the year all
That's
those.
right.
And then this year, I predict that I'll be doing it on my podcast live. I'll do a live election night special. I just to get a cardboard cut out of Petty Gower and throw something at him.
Do you reckon new government change this year?
Well, given the performance of this current government over 6 years, and I think I've hinted at this already, you'd think that there'd be a change of government. Yeah, you'd have to look at the polls; they're quite tight. You know, MMP elections are tight, eh? MMP elections, it's a race to 61, and both sides get really close. You know, I said last time, Jacinda won't become a majority. There's no way. If she does, I'll become a vegan. And then I'm in the studio fronting this stuff. It goes to 48%, 49. I'm like, oh shit, 49, 49.5. And I'm like, Google veganism. Oh shit! No fish. Well, they're actually against fishing. I'm like, I got my rods in the car.
Still catching sharks.
Well, you're catching onions. You know, onions that don't breathe. So, but I tell you, the best thing about going vegan is I went vegan. I did 3 months. You know.
Oh wow! Did you lose heaps of weight?
You can still have lollies and shit. You know.
Oh okay.
Yeah. So
top it up with sugar.
Oh, all that. So, but the first thing I went to was this vegan pie eating competition. I was like, here he is, vegan pies. I was like trying to, just in case there's nothing for the next day. I was trying to stock up, you know. And that was quite cool. But the community was really good. The vegan community, you know, they were so supportive, and I didn't know what I was doing. I ended up coming off it. You know, I went to my mum's partner. He had Christmas Day, you know. And I've said this. He knows. You know, I'm about to diss him. And he cooked the. You know, I thought, Christmas Day. Look at this. My mum lasted 1 day in dry July, by the way. And I caught her having a drink on the first day. I said, "Oi." She said, "Hey, little one." I said, "Dry July. It's not dryish July. It's not like you don't start on the 2nd of July." So I'm over on Christmas Day at her bloke's place, and I'm going to cook a steak. Do you want me? No, I'm a vegan. Oh, okay, fuck it. I'm over it. Yeah, okay, you cook a steak. He cooked the worst steak. I think he boiled it. It was like, you know those shoes we used to have? Those shoes, he knows. He's got work to do. He knows. You know those shoes we used to wear to school, nomads? There's nomads. It was like eating one of those, mate, you know? But a boiled nomad.
Succulent.
And I got in the shit because I came off this, you know, I'm not doing this diet anymore. I'm going back to the States. And I had the worst steak in the world. You know, it's like, I left home for that, you know. It was bad. We've talked about this, and he's come to terms with that. We've got to set him on the straight and narrow with cooking skills and things. But yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, imagine giving up. I gave up my veganism for a rubbery steak, you know.
The fact that you went on it for
I was like, I lost my fingers, I mean, I lost 3 teeth. So, yeah.
Oh, man, Duncan.
Guys, Jay's got a whole bunch of notes that he wants to get through. So.
Take it down, James.
You got a voice.
It barely works.
Well, it's so dry from waiting.
I had a question. You seem like such a self-assured individual. Have you had to sort of battle self-doubt?
Yeah, all the time. Last Thursday, I had to go to Wellington because now MediaWorks has kept me. They roll me out to these functions, because I will front them for them. Like, good evening, folks, and welcome to this advertising function. So, public speaking, I will always get a nervous tension thing. I've got to do something in Tauranga in a couple of weeks. I'll start to think about it. Now. I was never nervous before the AM show. I never ever felt anything but excitement. Let's go. But when it comes to the public and your interface with them, you forget that they've seen you for 30 years do stuff. So I get sort of a bit nervous now. But I never used to. Now I've come the full circle. Like, this is just speaking in public again. So I get a sort of, I'm always self-doubting. If you don't self-doubt, then you'll be up your own backside. Self-doubt, I try to turn into a positive energy thing. But it's not bad to be nervous every now and then. It's like how the real people live.
You need that.
Here comes the ex-wife. Now I'm nervous, Well, maybe more than nervous.
And as someone that's been been in the industry for decades,
We'll cut that out in post. We'll shorten it by 3 seconds.
how do you stay so excited about the mahi that you do?
It's a really good question. And it's so much more interesting question than some of the other ones I've had tonight. You've been the great questions. There's no dud question. And what was the question? Yeah, I tell you what. When I was 12 years old, I wanted to be a sports commentator or something like that. I used to watch the horse racing or watch the All Blacks, and I'd pretend to be a commentator or something. Like horse racing, out of the gates they go, this time goes, maiden lady followed in by, Jimmy DeCo by with 300 to go, and so I thought I could do this and whatever. Never really went that way, but I've always wanted to do this. So for me, I still don't feel like I've worked my ass off, but I feel like I haven't worked a day in my life. Or they're paying me for my hobby.
That's cool.
Like some guy loves to do Lego, so he gets paid for that. Well, I like to do broadcasting and hear from people, listen to people, There's so much rich stories out there that still haven't been told. So I feel it's what is it now? Thursday evening, a day before Matati public holiday, and I'm sitting in South Auckland in a warehouse, still excited by my industry, despite, being shat on a bit as well, but I'm still hopeful and excited, yeah. And I think I always will be, to be honest.
Yeah.
The day I'm not, I'm out.
Wow.
True.
Yeah.
So what else excites you? Are there any extra hobbies that you'd like to
Saturday
explore
morning
in the
rugby.
future?
Yeah,
Nice.
I love watching my son play sport, and I get really upset, disappointed around cancellations. It's a winter sport, it's raining.
Stop
cancelling that. What are we going to do this morning? Get down the park, smash him, bro. So I love
If we can't do morning sports, wife will tell us to clean the house.
Yeah, does she? Do you do it?
Nah, I got sports.
Okay. They just cancelled. Indoors.
Indoor sports.
Yeah. Did you get the old clean the house thing too? Yeah. Preempt it. Do it Friday night.
Hey.
When I get home. But yeah, no, you pushed around a bit. You could talk about this. Come on my podcast. Please tell us how boys get pushed around. But the great thing about being a bloke is that I love to hearing that clean the house thing. Just leave us alone. Those things that go on the floor and the vacuum, the self ones, right? I like those. Away it goes. If it falls down the steps, you got to get up and sort of fix it, put the batteries back in it. They never told you this stuff, but I'm so pleased that you get told off. And what do you do? Yes, yeah, I'll clean it now. I know your type. I was the same for years too.
Right, exposed.
Guess who? You are exposed. Guess who tells me off now to do that?
Your mum.
Nah, she's too scared. But she does say, she has a couple of times, she goes, you could do a little bit more around, cleaning up the place. And I'm like, I just don't want to get in your way, Mum. You know, you have certain standards, and I don't want to lower them. But yeah, I'm so glad you get told off. Eh? You're always running around like you're on fire. I've seen it before. It's good. Oh, I feel it's good. It's such a relief. You wuss. Put her in her place, mate. Tell her, no, it's your turn. Yeah, I'll get the vacuum.
Oh, Duncan, do you find often, Duncan, that you're quite busy all the time? And is there a time where you're just like, man, I just need a rest from everything? Or are you just always constantly on the go?
There's a reason for that. I'm worried about stopping. That things will flood back to me, like my dad's death. So unresolved shit like that. You know, I miss my dad a lot, and so from the day he died, I just throw myself. I always threw myself at life, but even more so, especially the first 5 years, I went everywhere, did everything, took the kids to everything, and we went everywhere because I was scared to stop. What will I feel? So that's always worried me. So that's where I go. I think I've gone extra hard since he died. It was 13 years ago. And my mum said to me that the other day, she goes, living with you is interesting, you know. Like, you're always, when do you sleep? I don't notice that your bed's not made. You don't help under it. And I said, it's too hot, Mum. I'm always on top of it. And you've seen me asleep. You must have seen me twice in the last few months asleep. You know, I'll crash when I crash. I'll zonk out. And that's the end of me. And I'll just wake up 8 hours later. But, having children, I have children when I was 27, and I had a breakfast show for 5 years. I had to be out of the house, or up at 2:30. Now, if you go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night, and you take 2 hours to get to sleep, and you're up at 2:30, jealous out, we're coming to you for the mass. It's 2.5 hours. Okay? It's 2.5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I'd see you on the show and you'd look tired sometimes.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
Just saying.
I'm just going to ring the makeup girls. If 3 years ago you'd done a better job.
You held it up really well.
One time I went like that and nodded off.
Was it when the camera was off? Or was it on?
One night I was arrested before I went on the show. Yeah, it's just a thing at home. But, there was this trespass, and they thought I'd breached it. I hadn't, and it was sorted out, but I was still taking down the cells, you know. And we was passing around and trying to sort it out. I told TV3 next day, there's nothing to see here, but, I was still down at 10 o'clock at night, you know. The guy that had locked me up, I used to play rugby with him, at school.
He still locked you up?
Well, I called him by his nickname, and he didn't like that. I forgot he didn't like it. It was a bit derogatory. And when I went into the...
Can we ask what it was?
I got taken...
Okay, nah,
you asked for it? You cut out and post. But the thing is, who's a prop, you know? And in those days, you had drinking competitions, everything. He never did that well in them, so his nickname was Puss. Oh. And so I went into that night... Of
course you wouldn't call him.
I didn't. I forgot his real name. And so here I am being marched in by these cops, Just got the show on the next day. I try to see the lights on everything, especially if I've done nothing wrong. It's like, it'll resolve itself, And I walked in there and I saw him through the door. Hey, Puss. And then went down and sat in this interview room, and this young cop said to me, "Did you call the chief Puss?"
Chief.
And I said,
Did I?
I think I did, didn't I? What's his name? Hayden, isn't he? Yeah, I better apologise, yes. Or you'll just back you downstairs first, mate. So, oh, God. I'm not getting put in the cells because I called him a nickname. Anyway, I ended up going to him because I had to sort out this wrongful arrest record of ours. So I went back up there and I remembered his name. I was like, oh, that's right. But in my initial thing, because I hadn't seen him since the rugby days, right, was, so, hey, I didn't realise he was the boss. In front of all those guys. It was just one of those moments. It's a bit of fun.
He must have been happy to push you in.
He wouldn't do that. That's why we named him. That's why we had the nickname. That was that generation, though. We went to parties all the time, and we were drinking culture. And one of our guys died actually. He drowned in drinking. And I just look back now. All these mistakes that we made, we got away with. I don't know how I crashed a car one night after playing rugby and drinking too much, and luckily I had a panel beater because he could take the car off the road and do it for me, so my dad didn't see it. So just little things, that I don't want my son to make any of these mistakes because I'll be worried he'd die. So how we survived some of those 80s things, in the 80s, You know, they used to have bars that would promote dollar beers. So you go there, $20, you get yourself 10 beers and visit from the cops and a pie on the way home, you know.
Days.
That's what we did. That was the generation. Wasted so much of your money and life on booze. I'm not a non-drinker, but I don't drink now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't drink much, you know, or drink at all. I can't remember the last time
Was it?
No, I did last weekend actually. I had a couple of beers. It was a guys I hadn't seen for 5 years.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I only ran into them in the pub, you know. But I would go weeks and weeks and months without drinking. You know, I don't need it. It doesn't do good things for you. You don't make right decisions, and nothing good happens after midnight.
So I guess the context of that question was around the busyness. So would you say you've actually gone through the grief process yet?
Of Dad?
Yeah. Or you just like delaying it?
I don't think you ever do. I've definitely come to terms with it. You know?
Yeah. But still there.
Oh, yeah.
The feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's 62, you know. He
Young.
was
He's
real
very
young.
young.
He didn't get to retire, you know. He didn't want to die.
You didn't?
No. He got given 9 months. You know, the hard thing when I went to Afghanistan, it was about a month before he died, you know, and he thought I was going to die when we went to Afghanistan, so I was saying goodbye to him at the house. And I wasn't allowed to tell anyone else that we were going because we couldn't say that we were going because of John Key's security. So I had to keep it secret for a week. Couldn't even tell Dad until the couple of days before we went. And I think he got quite a shock. I said, I'm going to Afghanistan. And all he saw on the TV was, you know, people blowing each other up and everything. And we didn't really know what to expect either. So, and I didn't know if he was going to die while I was away. All these shit things. Yeah, so maybe I haven't dealt with all of that. But I do talk about it every now and then. Like,
Yeah, good.
you know, you can probably see the pain sometimes.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
man.
But
Yeah.
Because describe
how
for
do
us.
you get rid of it?
Yeah.
You gotta let it out.
Yeah.
You gotta let it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can't really say, but when it comes to Pasifika and the way we grieve, there's a long ass process before we even bury the person.
I know, I just saw that with my friend.
Yeah.
His neighbour died in a car accident 2 weeks ago in Sandringham. And over the last 2 weeks, because I'm always at his house, they've had all the family there and all the tents on the front lawn. I've got to say that, and it's the same with Māoridom, you know, when you go into Matangi, Pākehā has to learn from this. Because you guys know how to say farewell and you honour this person and you surround them and you tell stories and everything. Ours is a financial transaction in 1 hour. Here's the bill. Here's a sausage roll. Can you please hurry up? We've got another funeral coming in. My life's worth more than that. But that's what we do in the backyard world.
Yeah.
We do. It is a financial transaction.
You just get on with it.
Yeah, and I say in the Pacific world, from what I can see, because I live out in the Mount Roskill there, you know, every week there's tents going up on the front of the properties because, you know, and he was a young man. This guy was in his 50s. And he'd been working as a security guard all night and he had a car accident coming home. So working for 2/5 of nothing and tired and driving home and had an accident and 4 kids. And yeah, well, they're all helping set up and everything. My neighbours, their neighbours and my friends, and the grief, these families. But the 2 weeks, I would have been there 2 weeks, maybe, maybe 10 days. So but I look at them and I think, you guys do this well as a culture. You know, you guys know what you're doing, and it just seems like clockwork. You know, the guys with the tents turn up, the fine mats they turn up, and the kai turns up, and you know they're giving me kai and everything, and I was like, you lost your dad, you know. Have we given these guys some money, some koha or something? So that's where you grieve, right? What did I do at my dad's funeral? It was about an hour long. I had to make a speech, and I can't remember what I said. We carried him out. Right, what's up next? You know, it's bullshit. And like, it doesn't seem to me like that's who I am. But it's not my culture, but it is.
Yeah.
That's why I feel, you know, with having Māori kids and being in and around Marae and stuff, you know, I feel a lot more comfortable in that.
Yeah.
You know, hanging around on a marae for days during a tangi, and that's when you hear the real stories, and that's when you can grieve and you can cry it out or hug it out or whatever. Pākehā world is a harsh world, you know. It's dog eat dog, and it's, you know, like with retirement homes. I don't want to put my mum in a retirement home. You're going in there, either you're going to die or they're going to rinse you and then you die, you know. That's what they do. It's the model.
Wow.
You've saved all this money, so they're going to charge you through the nose. Why can't I have it at my house? What you do in other cultures? We got to look at ourselves,
Yeah.
because if we've got the ability to pull resources, but we don't. Imagine how powerful Pākehā families would be if they pull resources.
Yeah.
But they probably think they've got enough resources so they're individual economic units.
Yeah.
So, and when someone says, well, come around and I'll listen to you, mate, I'll talk to you. Well, I tried, but I knocked on the door, you guys were asleep, It has to be a genuine offer, I look at Pākehā customer, and that's me, it's who I am, but it feels unfamiliar to me.
Did you get to spend those last few moments with your dad
Yeah.
way you wanted to spend it? Like you were able to say goodbye properly and...
He knew we were there. I was lying under his bed in the hospice, lying on the floor there. Mum was over in the corner, and it was about 4 a.m, and it was a budget day because usually I'd cover the budget. And I was holding his hands, and I just felt it sort of slip away. And so I knew he died, but I didn't. I just laid it down on the ground, and the nurse came in. Actually, I'll tell you about the nurse. The nurse came in, and she said, your dad's passed, And then I looked at Mum, and it was, I don't mean this come across the wrong way, but we'd looked after him for 9 months hard. And I looked at Mum's face, and it was a resignation of a face was resigned, almost relief, like he was out of pain, and now the next journey began. We'd give anything to get him back, but that wasn't going to happen. And so we did that together. I think that was a really strong bond at Mum and I. We always tight, but I think because my sisters were away in Christchurch and Queensland, they came back, of course, but we sort of did the heavy lifting on that.
Yeah.
I do regret, though, the night that he checked himself into the hospice. It was a Sunday night. I'd been with him all day, watched the Chiefs beat someone, and standard. And but on Monday morning, Mum said to me, "Oh, Dad got an ambulance last night to the hospice." And I said, "Why didn't you tell me? I'll come and get him." Oh, no, he was agitated. He got up and we feel guilty about this now. He rang himself an ambulance to go across the... He probably knew it was his last time. I would have been there, but I wasn't, was I? I was asleep. So all those things come back and, sort of
and they do
voices
that,
in your head.
And they do that because they don't want to bother us or burden us, quite often.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, our parents do that out of aroha. They don't just...
They don't
not
want to
trying to neglect you.
They
They just
don't want to be a pain.
burden. That's right, they don't. And you know what? If you reframed it, it's him still having that independence in those last few
He was
moments.
dead 4 days later.
Yeah, but he was still able to uphold that independence that I think that generation thrives on.
I took a day off, during his demise. I went and sat with him up at the hospice. I told the TV guys that I wouldn't be there. This is where I was, And then the story broke about some minister who'd misspent some money, and I saw my phone go, and I was like, oh, surely one of the guys can do this, But a couple of them were new, we just hired them and everything. And the producer goes, "Mate, could you come back?" And I was like, please don't give me this dilemma, And Dad goes, "You go, mate. So I'll see you tonight." So I went. The guy that asked me to go back, he's a good guy. I don't blame him. He didn't know. He didn't know. He did know. He didn't know. But if I sort of a bit angry about that still, angry at myself. Not saying no, but I'd said I'd been with Dad probably 5 or 6 hours. He was getting tired anyway, but that's not the point, eh?
Yeah. There's a big message in that.
Yeah. So I don't want to hear that on repeat.
No.
Did I finish your questions? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Duncan, man, just man, appreciate it, mate. Appreciate what just sharing, and you come across as a real stand-up guy, mate. You really are. And I didn't realise all these stories you're telling us. Obviously, we see you on the telly and on the radio, hear you on the radio, but you give so much. You give so much to people, to others, which tells us that you have a massive heart, bro. You have a massive heart.
I feel guilty this week. My son's on school holidays. I should be there, All things like that.
Yeah, no.
Because next year, you probably just want to hang out with his mates. Because they get older and they go, where they gone. So, but I want to go to America. He says, I want to go to America. And I said, you've got Air Jordans. What do you he got them in High Street, bro. You know? He did some acting in a TV ad. They keep rerunning it, so they give him money, you know. He gets this cash. It's not like a normal 12-year-old with only $5. He's got some 50s on him, you know. But he's a good saver, you know. He's a good saver. But every now and then he's, you know, must be his chick side. He wants to go spending money, eh? Must go to the shoe shops, you know. They all know him now. And I just say to him, you know, I said, what are you buying those cases for? He goes, oh, that's the display case. I said, your feet, they go on your feet, don't they? He goes, no, I'm going to display them in my room. I said, well, who's coming looking at them? How many tour groups you got going through your bedroom, mate?
Does he trade? Does he trade them on? Because that's a big thing now for all.
He trades prime drinks.
What?
Prime.
Man, that's a thing now, eh?
This is the Jake.
Are we down with the kids or what, mate?
That's crazy.
I saw him drinking this drink. What's that? This is the banned drink. You know, there's too much caffeine in it. Oh. And I found myself last night online. How much are these things? What? A 12-pack for like $400? I'm getting him just juices. It's a thing though, eh? Yeah. We must be up with it.
Just learning.
See how many flavours there are, though, you know?
Yeah. She was like primo.
I see at the rugby club, the rugby training, you know, that one guy will have a prime drink, you know, they were chasing him for the bottle and stuff. I'm like, we used to do that with Lion Reeds, you know?
Sounds like you love being a dad. I love.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, but sometimes I get exhausted too. You know, I remember, you know, the hardest thing's having the little ones. You know, like this guy's easy now. He just wants a leg rub before a game or something. You know, so if I'm going to give you a leg rub, bro, $5 first try. You know? So you know, he seems to have tight muscles all the time. You know, I said, stretch, mate. You know, got to stretch. I do love being. I think being a father, being a parent changes you. You know, like you learn if you're not empathetic by the time you're a parent. Then you soon will be, or you should be. If you're not, there's something wrong. And you don't understand sacrifice until you have sacrifice. And women, I mean, the mothers are the most amazing people because look at the sacrifice there. Bugger that. You know, it's just too much to think about it. The more I think about it, the more I don't want to think about it. You know, so that's that. But you're responsible for this person born into the world. And, you know, a lot of parents don't do it very well, and you see the result of that. You know, we've got some bad parents in this country. We don't talk about it. We talk about all sorts of other, we talk around it, you know. We don't know how to tell kids when they're obese, so we don't even know whose job it is to do this, but we got to do something about it. And some parents be in court when their kids are offending, you know, like, probably should be. You know?
Yeah.
You can't look after your kid, you know. Well, come here, mate. You're in here as well with them, you know. So they do this in Britain.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, it's up to a certain age group. So your 10-year-old offends. Well, you come here, pal. You're in the stand with them because where were you that night?
Wow.
You know. Oh well, I was on the bloody glass barbecue getting hammered with my mates, and I just didn't think about him. I was at home on his own, was he? Yes, mate. So get in the court, get in the dock. So they do this around the world. You know, pretty controversial. But, see, we're going through this debate at the moment in New Zealand. Do we go hard? Or do we go soft? Is going soft working? It's probably not how we were all brought up, you know.
No.
We got brought up in the smash, you know. But we did. You know, and
and it worked. Sometimes.
Yeah. I could never do it. I look at my girls were so tiny. What are you going to do? Give them a smack? For what? They're kids, you know, like... It's caused a huge division, that law too, and especially I think amongst Pacific families too. You know, like, and I was in a Pākehā family, but you know we knew the discipline was this plastic hose pipe thing, you know, left welts in your leg, you know? But you could grab it off and. You know, and you suddenly got the weapon yourself, so he's a bit wary once you get 12. You know, wait behind the door and stiff arm. Man. So they learn to not mess with you after a while. But I'm at that point now with my son. You know, he's a very cuddly, loving boy. You know, he has a huge spirit and sense of sort of social justice. He gets really upset if he does a deal with someone and they renege, and you know, rage against a machine. You know, so. But I see he cares. I see you know, in his school he gets rewarded in his school. You know, top of his school for this and that. Cause, he's like a force of good, you know. But he's,
That's cool.
you know, sees the bully, you know, he's like, oi, mate, leave him alone, you know, that kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I hope he doesn't get into trouble on that sort of thing. Sometimes you go down the wrong alleyway trying to help someone.
Yeah. And it sounds like, you know, with the marriage split and then Buster sort of being in the middle, you've done a really good job at keeping that balance, or you've tried really hard.
I don't know if we've done a good job. I was just saying to a mate tonight, you know, if he's been used as a conduit for messages and things, that's not good.
No, that's not.
But he's resilient. He's just, you know, these idiots, you know, they'll sort themselves out. We've sorted it out now. We've parted ways, and you know, she's a good mum, you know, and I'll never criticise that. I just think it's not you just don't look credible doing that. And I want him to, you know, you need to display, and this is the hardest thing for me in the last 5 years, is, you know, I wanted to display healthy relationships and what a relationship should be. I haven't been able to do that, and I failed him on that. So I hope that there will be an impact of that at some stage. So I worry about that. I dreadful, you know, a split, and you know. It's just all those things that come with it, you know. I just hope that he thinks it's not normal, you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to some people the other day. They said that their parents have been married 72 years, and I thought, wow, we don't often hear these stories anymore.
Oh.
But there's something in there, you know. And that's good, you know. They may not have spoken to each other for the last 20 years because they're bored of each other, but they're still together. You know? You go to the mall, great. I'm staying at home. You know?
There's that perception, eh?
Well, my parents were still together, you know, and because it's so rare, you got to reward it and say, well done, you know. So you haven't got long to go. Only you're not even halfway there, but you're on a Saturday morning, please. Say, well, I would like some footage of that, please.
What do you reckon's the buffer around that? Like, you know, because surely there's a buffer. I reckon the buffer is, do you reckon it would be just keeping them informed, the communication, the honesty?
It's all that. Yeah, it's been upfront.
Yeah.
Compromise,
Yeah.
Okay, well, you go. You use the bathroom first. That's fine. Yeah, I'll wait here for the 800th time being second. Yeah. So you sound familiar. At least you're in control. 1 day a week. So yeah, it's compromise and basically you know, let them win.
And I guess
sometimes it's easy, you know.
Yeah, because I love how you talk about him, and I guess I'm only just asking this because you know divorces. There's
horrible.
A big rate around it, and there's a lot of. I mean, I was watching Peel. He just did.
He's
this,
the man, isn't he?
He's the man, and he just did this Whānau Matters video, and in it, and you've seen it, eh? And
I have, yeah.
And he depicts him as koro living with his daughter and his grandson, and it's beautiful that he's able to pick that family unit because that kind of represents what's happening at the moment, and I think it's important to be able to communicate those messages to the tamariki of those families and parents.
Yeah.
You know, how do we buffer this so that we're not just...
He lost his son, you know.
Yeah.
I know exactly where his son's buried in the Hokianga.
Oh, in Hokianga he's buried.
He's buried at Mitimiti. And I went up, and I had heard him talk about his son, and I found his grave, you know, because we were up the coast on the old quads. And I went up to the cemetery on the marae, and I found his gravesite, and I was like, oh, had a little moment, because I rate Pure, he's the man. And he came on my show 6 weeks later, and I said to him, I just checked in on your son the other day up at this Buttabean. And he said, did you? And I said, because it's the middle of nowhere, you know. It's in the middle of nowhere, but when you're from up there, and the highway is the old beach, you know, so we were on the highway, and I found the gravesite, and I just paid my respects. I'd never met his son, but he was so young, 18. So I just said to Pio, I went up and spent some time with your son. He was overwhelmed by that, you know. Like the little things you can do. It's just a few minutes of investment in time, you know. You can comfort somebody, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you'd never cope with losing a child.
No.
You know.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have really appreciated that. We had him on the...
He's funny, isn't he?
Yeah, we had him on another podcast, but he when he talks about his son, it's still very...
Oh, should be, yeah. Talk about his wife? He's in second place there, mate. He's marched around there, the vacuum. Have you seen those vacuums? This might help you. The single handle ones. They don't plug to the wall. They're the rechargeable ones. Those, you know, what do you call them? Those ones, yeah. They're quite handy.
ones.
But when
Those
you're doing
flash
it 2 or
ones.
3 times a day, you can get the light ones. Yeah. I bought one for Mother's Day for $350 though.
350.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, it was the bottom of the range really.
Gee.
Well, I spent $1,000 on it.
I can't believe you guys are talking about vacuums.
Well, no, I'm just trying to help the bro out because he needs help.
Man,
Thanks, bro.
are they your mothers or your ones? Sounds really well.
Saturday mornings and everything are the same. Get a sport, mate. Just make it up. Say there's a team down the corner.
We're talking about relationships, Duncan. Is anyone? I don't know. Is there someone special on the pipelines, or is it just?
No. I've sort of. I've committed to dealing with the marriage breakup because it lasted for a long time because of COVID. So I keep getting put off, go to court and I keep getting put off. So this COVID thing's, making this exit a long one. It's a long way to say goodbye. So expensive too. No, not another court hearing put off. I mean,
Oh my god.
come on, justice. So no, there's not. I had to chat to Buster about this one day, and he goes, "So, Dad, if you got someone you'd spend, so if you did say you did 10 hours with me a week now, whatever, after school, would you make it 7 to me, and then you'd give 3 over there?" As soon as I heard that, I'm going to be single for a few more years. I got a few mates who are single too, and it's actually not that bad, it's good.
Yeah.
Play darts and
Get the whole bed to yourself.
that, and
Don't have to shower.
no one tells you off on a Saturday morning. I tell you, the benefit of that over time is it's mental health. It's a bonus. There's no one climbing down one ear into the other ear and down. Have you made sure that have you done the carpet? Have you vacuumed? Would you vacuum before we go, please?
Mr. Spot.
You want to have a tape recording? I'll just say yes, yes, yes.
So be single for a few more years.
Yeah, I'm happy single. Because I'm sort of focused again on the podcast thing right now. I don't know how many more transitions I can make. This might be the last. And when I'm ready to go, we'll jump back on and we'll look at some options. I don't know. I don't know if I've got as open and everything as I am. I've been burned a bit, but still a bit hurt by it all. And I'm not really. I don't want anyone to have to deal with me.
Yeah.
I guess a few more one-on-one chats and just a bit more help, a bit more being open and just letting the dust settle over here. The dust isn't settled for me. I throw myself at so many things in life that I can't just go, whoop, well, it's over.
Yeah.
I've still got a few joint bills to pay. So the lawyers don't come cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, it's toxic, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'm going to set up a Give Little page and.
So you've got a lot of help there for you. Just
there's heaps of guys around here.
cool.
And yeah. I do a lot of fishing,
Yeah, that's therapy.
Do you have your own boat or something?
Yeah, it's at my mate's place down in Buttabean at the moment because, when he moved out, open homes. Oh, they said to me in open homes, now get rid of all this sort of stuff. I'm like, that's my boat, mate. Like, who's this guy telling me to get rid of my boat? Well, it's for the aesthetic look or something. So I got rid of it to my mate. And I think he's put a new outboard on it. He's been spinning around Auckland. Is that my boat? So I've just got a rubber ducky, but it's quite good for fishing. Good platform, unsinkable they say. So yeah,
Fishing.
I find it really therapeutic.
Yeah, good.
I really do.
Yeah.
And darts, darts is a good thing. You just
Yeah.
you're letting stuff go.
You're good at it.
But, no, terrible. I play this guy who, he's a top sportsman, his family is. And so he sees me and he goes, right, this will be an easy victory. I'll bank this. So he's banking all these wins over here. But when you're in a room with one guy and you're throwing something at the dartboard, you start talking. Go on a road trip, you start talking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or listen to a podcast. I don't like it I like to listen actually to the podcast. You can in the car. You can go.
Yeah.
I got this email today from this lady. He goes, "Oh, I've just found you." So I'm working my way back through the list of podcasts. So she's got 50 to go. But someone said to me the other day, "Oh, so having found you and your podcast, I look forward to it every weekend because I can't during the week. It's my treat." I'm like,
That's cool.
that's nice hearing,
Yeah.
sort of reaffirmation of what you do. I mean, not even, a lot of people think you're just an asshole, and that's fine. I probably was, especially Wellington and all the pressure and everything. But I know that's not me, and that's what you have to do. 50 journalists, your bosses are watching the end product at 6 o'clock each night. Did Duncan get a story? Is it a better one than that? That's for 17 years of pressure.
17.
Well,
I didn't even know it was
17 years
that
of press gallery, yeah.
Jeepers.
You think you got problems on Saturday mornings? I mean, eh? You got 17 years of every night. Right. Boss sits in his chair. Ding, ding. TV1 and 3.
Nice.
You don't want to be getting chomped every night by the other guy,
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you do it to them,
But it just, I was going to
But
ask.
that's pressure. It builds up, and somebody's going to have to go pop at some stage.
Yeah.
That's true.
crazy.
And so you just popped out.
Yeah, just pop. Yeah. Pop, 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 pop. I don't know what pop, at some stage, I don't know what pop means. You want it to make sure it's a positive pop, no, the negative pop, But I don't even know what pop means. But all I'm saying is that you get build of pressure, and sometimes you just got to have a release, whether that's going fishing or going for a walk.
Yeah, we talked about on another podcast where how important these different outlets for men are to help us like unwind, and I think Jay talked about this one was kite.
Yeah, flying kites.
flying kites.
I had a
I
bit of
love
a dark
kites,
spell.
yeah. Big fan, yep.
I love it.
Where do you get the best ones from, though? Because I find the kites anywhere sort of Kmart, warehouse, and without saying the names of the places, well, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the wind. Coming from Wellington, I used to lose a lot of kites.
Yeah.
Because Auckland sometimes not enough wind. Where do you fly them? Do you fly kites?
So I initially discovered in Wellington. I used to live in Wellington, so I'd gone down there to change the scenery. And the kites I'd actually gotten for the kids. My daughter was only 4 years old. She was struggling. So I was like, oh, yeah, give me a hand. And then after that, it was me just playing with the kites at the beach in
It's like
Paraparumu.
Oh, is that where you're from?
No, my cousin was there.
Oh,
so,
right, yeah.
But up here, it's
Pretty
Bastion Point.
Yeah, Bastion Point is a bit high as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like kites. That, again, therapeutic. If you can make it,
Absolutely.
Don't go cheap because it won't balance properly. We used to all do this shit before devices came along.
Yeah, true.
Our kids would know how to fly a kite. Now they just know how to fly a kite by googling it, flying a kite.
Yeah, watching it on YouTube.
Yeah.
True.
I can't remember what Pete's one was.
I think mine was
Cleaning Saturday mornings.
Painting Sunday mornings.
Isn't there a song? Oh no. Cleaning Saturday mornings. Yeah.
Sunday morning. The Commodores.
Every week, guys, that's me. Yeah. You got a few more cleans left in you, though?
Was that?
You got a few more cleans left in you before breaking ports?
Hey, man, anytime. My thing is, during the week, I do all the cleaning.
Oh, I'll
Nah,
get
she's
my
gotta
car
watch
in.
my wife's gotta watch this.
Do the recon bit now, eh? He's sorry, he didn't mean it. He was trying to fit in, and he knows your boss, okay? So yeah, say after me, you're the boss.
Did you have young kids when you were in press gallery years?
20. Yeah,
You did. How did you manage all that?
Oh, we just did.
Yeah.
You do because you have to. So my first wife, she stayed home for 2 years, but after 6 weeks she was a journalist. I remember she left a voice message. I'm back. I'm back. I'm going to chase this murderer in the Wairarapa. The family that killed Lily Bing's little baby. So he would chase these stories. And it's when you have kids, you become really focused in your time. Your time is shorter and narrower, so you use it well. We didn't waste any time. It wasn't like clockwork because we weren't that organised. But babies they don't come with handbooks and stuff. Like it's the hardest work. If I went to work, it was like having a holiday. I'd rather be at home all day.
Tell us about it, Brad. Brad just had twins.
Am I speaking?
He's got 8
Yeah,
kids.
how many you got?
All boys.
All boys.
Boys, you got 8 kids.
2
8
sets of
boys.
Two
twins.
sets of twins.
2 sets.
And if we're talking about cleaning,
Oh, awesome. He's giving you his credit card.
Oh, no, that's full, bro. 8 kids. Oh, well, you thought about things. You'll be right. They'll look after you. You got twins in there? Yeah.
2 set of twins.
Oh, I'm a twin. Yeah. Sister.
Sister.
Are you guys close?
Oh, well, she's been in Australia for 20 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
It is. It's hard to stay close when they're so far away.
Are you similar? Do you have that twin vibe that they always talk about? No. Okay.
No.
The quality of the no. Kind of know your kids with.
No, we're different. Yeah? We're different. She's done a great job with the kids, and she's a hard worker, and she's a good mum. Yeah.
What's your advice for Brad in raising his 2 sets?
Run. No. Good luck, bro. It's exciting. Yeah. I want to try and put a good spin on this. It's really special though that you will be loved and looked after for your entire life. Like you get to a point, where some people they look around, they got nothing or whatever in the love front. I mean, you'd have a New Zealand Sevens team, bro, plus the reserves, so you'll be fine. My best advice to this though is that you go through really challenging periods. Walk through that. Don't bail on it. Walk through it. It's one. My mate's got 8 kids. Yeah. And he's never not busy. He's always, he's always shelling out. He's always busy, but he wouldn't have it any other way. Those kids have grown up now, and they just adore him. He's God. So consider it special. Yeah, a lot of people can't have kids. I'd sometimes offer mine. So the brat of the week goes. You both want to go? That says something about me, then. No, they're special. You're lucky. They're all gifts, Just don't give them away. Yeah, well done. Are the twins the new ones? How old are they?
About a month.
Oh shit! My first daughter had colic. So I used to go to work for Homes. And I had a black suit on, and it was like it had bird shit down the back of my right shoulder. Doing the energy. We'd work for Homes. We'd be there at 8, and sometimes you home at 9 in the evening. That's a long day. And how do you are expected to be level-headed, energised, and interested when you get home? Life's tough. You just just keep striding through those challenges. Because the grass isn't greener on the side, and the hope through these tunnels is when you get to that point, I reckon you've achieved something amazing. If I failed that.
What do you mean you failed?
Well, it didn't last, did it? Didn't get there.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I'm a fine man. I think I'll always be hard on myself.
Yeah.
And it's no one's fault, it's just sorts of things happen. So, but I wish I'd be able to achieve sort of solid thing, but job and the pressure and everything, so much. I'd get home at night, sort of 8 o'clock, about to walk in, and the phone would go, and it'd be like Helen Clark or something, who's decided that she's on the way home to her house. She'll ring up the political editor to moan about the coverage, or just to have a chat. She's very good at that, very masterful. Her and Key. They always had your number, and they'd always ring her, And Clark would, but you're the ear of the Prime Minister, you're in a job that they knew you had some influence, so they would, if you think you got a bet on Saturday mornings, man. You got the PM on your line, and whenever I saw her number come up and her name up, and oh, boy, I had to quickly remember, what have we done wrong today, guys? How do I get out of this? And what am I going to say? But usually it wasn't like that, when I had my first child, she rang, congratulations and things, just things like that, Keys the same. They were of that generation. They were far and away the best because they knew how to play people, and they were personable. They knew how to make you feel important. They knew shit.
Yeah.
I was doing an auction for those kids' schools. Could have kept up a school in Seatoon wealthy community, but they got the kura, and they were like, oh, there's a kura here. Anyway, it certainly is. And last year we raised, $800 and everything, and they said we need to raise more. We got a bigger school now. It was the week of the the raids down in Tuhui country. They flushed the kids off the buses, and they did all that stuff. It's just shocking. For no reason. Anyway, I'd known Tamiti, I'd met him a couple of times, different stories, different things, and I rang him up and I said after that, did you have painting for me, mate, for a fundraiser for the kura, for the kids? He goes, no worries, I'll send it to you. I didn't know he would or not. He sent me this original painting of the Tuhui raids, and so I had that to auction. I was the auctioneer at the school. We'd only ever raised $800 once. But we need to raise 20 because we need classrooms and everything. And I've got this on Friday morning. I thought, wow, he's a renowned New Zealand artist, and he's whatever people think of him. This guy's. I rate him, and he said he'd do something for me. He did it anyway. So I ring my mate on the paper, the local paper. He's running the paper. You use your contacts that you can. Hey, Oscar, this is what I got. What do you reckon? A good story for tomorrow? Saturday morning. Pump the crowd up, get some art collectors there, make the money. And he goes, I'll do it on the front page for you, mate. So we had nice. We were auctioning off this today, and it was a very hot topic at the time. And auction was 2:00, and I suddenly looked out at the crowd, and it was busy. And 10 minutes time, the auction, folks, 2:00. And next minute, I just saw these crowds of people walking in, grey-haired guys with big dark rimmed glasses, and advertising it. Just all these different art dealers and everything. Oh, all right, Oscar. It worked, mate. You see these people here. Anyway, who's got an opening price of $500? I thought we'll make $1,000. And 30 seconds later, $15,000, $15,500, and we sold it for $17,800.
Wow.
And I think we presented the school with 19 or 20 grand, which was 50 times more than we'd ever had. And the principal was really, really appreciative and everything, and thanked me all this effort I put in. I made one call. And Tamiti did that, and then I made one call to my mate, and you got to write about this in the paper, or you're never coming to my house again. And so he did a big promo piece on that Saturday morning, and with all the details of when the auction was going to be. The art collectors will love all that shit, and they paid $17,800 or something because he'd put the transaction through because I had the mobile boss. Thank you, boss.
Wow.
Did I tell you about the fee involved? But the privilege of this job is that you can sometimes use your contacts and your leverage for things like that. I never do it for personal gain, but I'd always do it for the. We had a hard time at that school too. Initially, the community was a little bit like these Maoris. Are we? How long will they be here for? Well, 900 years so far, mate.
Is Māori here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting, the first couple of years in the school, you have this big fair, or gala day, or whatever, and the locals don't turn up. This is your community. The school's right in the middle of the streets. They do now. It's just going to break down barriers. And with that, it's just communication, getting to know people.
Yeah.
You get to know people, and suddenly, shit, I'm sorry for hating you, bro. You're a cool guy, So, I've actually suffered that with this job over the years. Is that, the other night someone said to me, oh, I heard you're an arsehole, mate. And I said, no, I need a dickheads like you, mate. And he was an old guy. His name was Stu, and he was 76. He told me this, and he goes, I never listened to you. And I said, what? He goes, what do you mean, what? Well, I don't listen to you either. What did you say? And he was classic. He was using a bit of reverse technique on me. It turned out he'd followed it for years, and he said, "You let me down when you left the show, AM show and Today FM. I had to find you on this podcast."
Oh wow!
76 years old, and he pulled out his phone, and he had all the podcasts that he was listening to on there. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And it's great. You've got these followers that have just.
I like hearing that. I like hearing that when someone. And also, if you don't like it, then let me know and tell me what do we do differently. If I find you telling me that.
Awesome,
so yeah, just all my life I hear people say, oh, that's that. It's me. because you haven't got body doubles or anything. So it's such a small country that that the Tunis car girl is famous. Like
Tina from Taylor.
I'm Tina from Tunis. I think she's very good. So it's one of those countries. And long may that be this egalitarian country where everyone's approachable and everyone's cool and on that level. That's what New Zealand's got ahead of every other country in the world. Overseas they're paid more, they're aloof, and they're more at length or distance from their communities. We got to use that as the example, not to do it that way.
Yeah.
Awesome. For someone that's worked in media and broadcasting for so long, like, what are your thoughts around the landscape of media, especially
it's worrying. Yeah,
people's thoughts, like they're not trusting the media.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned landscape. I might be a landscaper because never before has the industry felt so under attack, and maybe we've done this to ourselves. We didn't monetize the platforms properly. For years I read the Herald; it was free.
Or $1.
What? Who paid $1? Online for years, I would sit and read it for free. There were no upgrades, no premium things, whatever it was. So 100 journalists housed in an office with all those costs, and they gave me the thing for free. Like, if you went into the dairy and asked for some chewing gum, they're not going to hand it to you for free. You got to pay. We were giving away a really expensive product that had let's say it was costing them so much per day, and I didn't have to pay a cent to get it. I just had to have a smartphone. So the industry was too slow to look for those opportunities, and almost we've sort of just creeping to get them back now, but it's so much harder to get them back because we didn't put them in place early enough. So would I recommend to my kids to go into the industry? One of them has, but my recommendation was it's not all it's cracked up to be. No one trusts you anymore. That's where you have to work on trust. If you are trusted, then you've got a big advantage. None of the bosses value experience anymore. They don't value good contact books. They don't value certain sector knowledge in some areas. That's gold, some of that stuff. And I worry what the media's going to become. Where are the next mad bastards like myself, Oscar Alley, Paddy Gower, Guy and Espiner, all these people that I've worked with over the years? We were mad. Because we were madly passionate about the industry. Like, we would have gone to work for free. We just didn't tell the bosses that, Had they known that, we would have. We largely did for years. The pay was so poor, we just went in there and we travelled the world, turning ourselves into these feral political hacks that sometimes were delirious because you'd rush to the start line of a day, you'd sprint to get there, stop, and wait for something to happen, Well, something doesn't really happen at those big conferences, and you got to make it happen, Otherwise, the day just went by and nothing, So there's a lot of that stuff goes on. You travel widely. I probably went to 90 countries in 17 years in Parliament.
It's crazy.
Yeah, really crazy. Wouldn't have it any other way. I've only just started to tell stories now. I'm only just remembering some of the stuff when you trigger it with me. I was telling these guys this morning, I've been to Gallipoli twice, it's such an honour. And you do represent your country when you go there. You still see the shells on the ground, and the Turks are crying and they're walking down the peninsula, and you think, what the hell are we doing here? Whose war are we fighting? New Zealand was so boring that 18-year-olds jumped on that boat and they had 6 weeks loving it, throwing Crete and whatever, having a great time. And then they said, right, we're landing on that beach tomorrow, boys. Okay. New Zealand was a boring place. 800,000 people lived here. The communities were dull. It was grey. There was nothing going on. You can go to Europe, guys. We've got a deal for you, front row seat. So there's a lot of New Zealand blood on that peninsula, and it's a special place. You feel it.
Wow.
I slept in the second time I went and I did my lesson. I stayed on the peninsula that night, wrapped myself in a sleeping bag, and I lay in this tussock, Shit, it was dark, and then in the morning you see the sun coming up and they play the last post and you're looking out to sea and you think, whew, the Kiwi boys came, I visualise the stuff, I get in the moment, the boats would have come into the Anzac Cove there, and up in the Sphinx and all this, it is like, the start of Saving Private Ryan or something. It's just it's like the movies, except it's real, And the fact that I still get a buzz out of this. I hope it's not boring you. They managed to take Timecodes. They through the gunfire and everything. These brave men. They said they were 18. I think some of them were younger. They marched 2Ks, whatever it is, up this. So we did this. To picture it, 48 kilograms worth of gear on their back and a bayonet gun that didn't work, whatever. And they held the top of the mountain for 24 hours. They were there, What real? They were young, What complete brutes to do that, and then only to be overcome and die,
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the outcome? Well, the outcome is we are here. But the reason why we brought that up, actually, because, been on the road, we had a 5-hour bus trip to get there the first time, and all the journos and media and just different staff in the PM's office, we played a game of cliches. You could only say a cliche for 5 hours. And shit, it was funny as. And then, all these journos just speaking in a cliche, so everything had to roll off the tongue as a cliche, and it had to make sense. You couldn't say a thing unless it was a cliche. It was so fun. It was so hilarious, grass is always greener, mate, glass half full, mate. But it had to actually make sense and things. So, you need your head read, mate, It just got to the point because you're tired, delirious. It's so funny, Just the whole thing, Yeah.
Totally a journalist game, eh?
Oh, well, it could be anyone's game, It was either that or going to the, the local strip bars with, a few MPs, we caught them down there. What are you doing down there? Oh, it's so much just that guy. So we saw lots, we went to lots of places, we reported most of the stuff. We chased Winston Peters' boat in 1996 during the election. Remember the 96 election went forever, all those coalition negotiations, and Winston takes his boys out in the harbour in Tauranga. Well, I was the guy, the young journalist who was chasing them in a speedboat behind. I'm like the dog chasing the bus. What was I going to do if I caught the boat? I'm here. They didn't want to see me. So we ate crayfish with them all night at some bar, which I still wonder whether Winston paid. I'm not even sure what happened. But those are the days of good access, no social media, open access, you could get off the record conversations with them, find out what's going on. They would tell you stuff. Nowadays, the politicians are too scared to be seen with journalists, social media and filming or whatever. So it was a golden era, really, of it was well funded. We could go anywhere we wanted. We did. You could charter planes. We had the ability to get places with them and report back, and they were good. I was so lucky I got some of those days. I was pinching myself. I was 21, and I was in the One Network News. I was with Linda Clark was my boss, and Peter Williams, Spiro Anastasiou, Ray Lamb. These are names of these journalists.
Massive names.
Yeah, man, and Keith Quinn. I was in the office, and Keith was upstairs. How are you, Duncan? Hi, Keith.
That's buzzing.
And I was a sports journalist for a few months, and I got sent to Hamilton before the World Cup to interview. There's a guy called Jonah, and the manager was Colin Meads, and I had to turn up and get both these guys to front to talk to me. How am I going to do this? I just started in the job, and I had to get one future All Black great and an All Black great to come over. Anyway, so I said, Colin Duncan Garner from One Network News, after Jonah. Yep, I'll get it for you. Jonah! Here. And he ran across and stand up straight, mate. And I interviewed Colin Meads and Jonah about some rugby story. And I'm thinking they're both dead now. I think, wow. Jonah towered over Colin Meads too, by the way. He was, I don't think New Zealanders actually understand what a superstar he was. He was the world's only true rugby breakthrough superstar, like a Michael Jordan thing. This is Jonah, He was genuinely class.
Iconic.
Totally, he could run fast, he could turn quickly, and he could defend and run back. Our wingers can barely catch now, and always out of position. You watch South Africa, on Colby, he's a good one, he'll do. So, and then Colin Meads, this guy, it was just totally in control. Jonah, come here. You got what you need, Duncan? Okay, mate. Catch you later.
Pine tree.
Yeah, I'm sure he had 3 fingers on each. But you always know when you shake their hands, there's a bit of a lump there or something. It's like going to Motueka to meet the Foresters. played rugby down there once. I played for the parliamentary rugby team, you know, and that was an eye-opener. And they all came together then, you know. So they all became mates there, and playing down at different teams and forestry teams, you know. So, I wonder if you can catch the ball that well. Yeah, but that's just fun. Those things that amuse you on those.
Yeah. What's your most memorable interview? The one that just sticks.
Things like Nicola, actually. I've interviewed Tony Blair. I've interviewed Hillary Clinton. 3 questions at Bush and Obama.
Wow.
I've been in the White House.
A few times.
A few times. Yeah.
Wow.
Guy, and you go there, mate. Yeah, and I'll go on this side. Yeah, you lie down there with the microphone, and I'll just go and stand in front of the president. Yeah, because you have to do deals where you stand, and so you compromise all the time. And it's really competitive on the road. Who's got the scoop? It's just taxi. And you have to play mind games with other journalists. So you're psychologically trying to fuck them. It's just you think you got a hard with 8 kids, mate. It's a Saturday morning on steroids. It's you need a break sometimes from that,
Of course.
And I was one of the most feral, worst instigators of all that shit. I feel a little bit bad about it at times, but largely keeps you, in the game. But you imagine that, you're travelling with 50 journalists, and who's got the scoop? And if you haven't got the scoop, you're paid a lot of money to get the scoop.
Yeah.
Well, you say to your boss, this wasn't true, mate. This is crap. Everyone tries to piss over the other guy's stories. There's always that to deal with too. You break a good story, then you sort of, huh? What's the reaction going to be? Ah! Oh, well, they haven't pissed on it yet, but they will tomorrow. So,
right. So how do you, what would you do to keep your scoop and to...
Go to bed later than everyone else and get up earlier. It was always my mantra.
Wow.
Get up before everyone else and go to bed later. It largely turns you into... Freak. Turns into this. I feel like I'm half asleep talking now. But do you know what I'm saying? You have to work harder and work smarter and know where the contacts are. Have a plan of attack around that. Get your story written and cut by the time the news comes on, because it's no good an hour later because it's live play.
Could be mongrel.
And you have contacts. It used to matter having contacts. And now I reckon they just interview themselves. But I was there the night that Winston had the punch up at Brava as well. That was in Courtney Place, all those infamous little moments. People may not even remember that. It's just all those things. The return of the unknown warrior, when that happened, National wouldn't fund this. It was $1 million, it was nothing. And Clark understood nationalism and understood creating moments for people. And the unknown warrior came back into Lambton Key in a casket. And our family lost my great uncle, so my dad's uncle, died of Borneo, a prisoner of war with the Japanese. My grandfather was always very hated the Japanese for some reason. This was the reason. Yeah? And when that casket came around the corner, and a whole Lambton Key, I'll never forget this, was 4 or 5 deep, and all these New Zealanders were lining the streets. Clark had done well, and around the corner comes the click of the horse, and with the casket on the back with the New Zealand flag. Could have been anyone's grandfather, anyone's uncle. It cost $2 million to do this exercise. It was nothing. And that person, the unknown warrior, lays in Wellington, rests in Wellington still to this day. A masterful political move. Clark understood creating nationhood and things like that, And it's a tricky thing to get right, Politicians take risks all the time in this sort of area. But when that casket came around the corner and you saw all these people just go... In America, it would have been like that. But New Zealanders just bowed their heads. It's so powerful, silence. Silence is powerful. It's also deafening, as well. If you're in a relationship and all you hear is silence, it's loud, I've heard that a few times. I used to hate dropping my son off to his mum, maybe for a week or whatever, I did go away. I used to just hate it. I feel pain on that, Going overseas and knowing flying out and your kids are at home. He used to just love coming home, because you went so many places and you spent so much time away, and you were so often. And we stayed in a 6-star hotel in Bahrain. People would go, "Oh, it must be a buzz." Well, we got there at 11 at night and left at 3 in the morning. So I had 4 hours. I stayed up, went in every room, But what do? You end up drinking with the Air Force, waiting your time to go and fly off again. It's not all. Look, it's not working in a sausage factory.
No.
but it kind of is as well. 'Cause it's all the same old shit, you know. But it's still a privilege, you know. It's still a privileged job because you're in people's lounges, and there's a responsibility to get it right too. So
it comes with a cost, though. Eh?
yeah, it does. You know, it does. You know, and the truth is, the cost is relationships.
Yeah.
And it's not just me. You look across the board in Parliament. I interviewed Ian Lees Galloway today for a podcast. He's a former Labour MP, got all sorts of shit down there. And he looked well and everything. I said, you look like you got your life back. He goes, I got all my relationship back in order and everything. He had to leave Parliament for that, you know. Parliament is toxic, brutal, feral, and it brings out the worst in us, you know.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't have any regard for families. They don't sit enough, but they sit too long when they do. And late into the evening, and what are they talking about? And it's inhumane. And you don't get, the outcomes are bad. For the best way, they're in and out, they're washed out, they're gone, they're toast, they're unemployable after that. I don't know, you know, you would have to pay me absurd amounts of money to go to Parliament. I just wouldn't do it.
No.
It'd be like sending me to jail. That's how I'd feel. Like it's like a death row or something, you know, because the outcomes are so poor. Like families don't become stronger as a result of you going there. Your father's gone for 3, 9, 6 years, whatever. That's why Key left. He had to get out again.
Yeah.
Because he was a good dad. He was a good husband. He need to go back to that.
Yeah.
Some people stay for too long because they've got nothing else. They literally have got nothing else. And they're stuck on this aphrodisiac of power, and, you know, it's a false economy.
You start off, I've seen people go into politics and you see the passion, you see them wanting to make a difference, wanting to make a change. Then they go into it and the system spits
beats
them out.
Down. Buttabean was going to stand for the Māori Party at Mangere. And I heard this, and it started to get some real legs, and it was in the papers and everything. And I rang him and said, Dave, come to my place, or can I come to yours? Okay, I'll catch you tonight. Yep. I went in there, I'm really honest with Dave, and I said, don't do it. You're mad. For a start, your funding that we get, you know, we get a lot of funding from different corporates and things, food and everything, to distribute. They won't give it to you because you're now aligned to Te Pāti Māori or whatever. Now, it's not that you're aligned with the wrong party. You're just aligned with the party. No matter who you stood for, those organisations will say, right, we're not going to give that. We can't give 40,000 worth of food every month to Dave now because...
conflict.
Well, it's Māori Party. Woolworths Canada, they may not want that relationship. Easy to give to Dave as a Buttabeaner, but harder to give to him when he's a Te Pāti Māori Buttabeaner. You know, you can't do it. So as soon as we got that across, you know, he made the right decision. He doesn't need more profile. But he's a one-man agency, so I can't speak highly enough of this guy. You know, has he won New Zealand of the Year? I think he won in the community.
He was close to it.
He should win. He should win that.
Do you think he'll
I think he's almost I'd go as far as saying potentially he's the most influential New Zealander of the past year or so.
Yeah, I agree.
Man.
Do you think he'll make more of an impact doing what he's doing now, or being elevated into Parliament?
Way more impact now because he's changing more lives now. At Parliament, it's a whipped system, so you know, you get sent to go stand in Parliament you're on duty tonight from 8 till 10. It's a regulations review committee. School up on that, and thanks very much, Dave. No, he would die a quick death.
Yeah.
He'd get there and he'd realise, right, I've got here. Here's the lollipop. Now, what am I feeling here? Nothing. You just do long hours, you get rinsed. You get on the treadmill of this political system, boys club, girls club, institutional crap. And it's vital in democracy, but it's unhealthy. The system, you know. It's just not good for anyone. What is a good outcome? Your kids don't see you for most of the week, and when you get back there, you're tired, and they don't recognise you half the time. And, well, Dad, where have you been the last 7 years, you know?
Yeah. Depleted.
Yeah, think long, but we need good representatives too, you know. But so think long and hard about if you're going to stand for office, what the cost is.
Yeah,
it's human cost.
And I remember Jenny Shipley when she became Prime Minister, how she had that really direct conversation with her family. This is what we're going to get into. Are we able to do this? Can we? And I think it was her husband that really pushed her to do that.
Bertie was on the plane. He was at the front. Yeah, I'm in, Jenny. Where you been?
But you need that kind of support and understanding, otherwise...
I had a few tussles with Jenny Shipley. Duncan, drop that with respect, she'd say. Oh, don't give me respect. You know? I remember we were in Chile, and we had this all-night bender because we'd been,
You and Jenny?
No. She's involved, I'll tell you how. So we had this, there's bars where you go under the stick, you lean back or whatever, limbo. Mate, honestly, I could virtually stand up and go under it. I was so inflexible. Anyway, there's all these people, we're coming to my place, party in my room, whatever, what do you are? There's locals, okay. So, we sneak them back in there. How do we do this? It was like maybe 5:30 in the morning or something. We're getting back to shit, man. These locals never know, and big, maybe 20 people coming to my, and I'm trying to sneak into the foyer. Oh, Prime Minister. She was out for a morning Y walk with Burton, and here we are, sneaking ourselves back into the with all these strangers. Party, top floor, and we get into the lift, and Shipley's actually in the lift from where Y walked. Went out with Burton, and I could stroll and get going, get the limbs going, and so we're in the lift, and I went under the weather, had a few, tired and over and everything, and here's this lift, Jenny, Burton, me, and 20 locals. And we're all dressed up as some Mardi Gras or something. And as I hopped down the lift, I looked back at her and she went, and looked so disappointed with me. And I was, is that my mother? I'm an adult now. The next day we went to this. I'll never forget this because this is my revenge. Went to this. So I can't believe I'm telling you this. She went on a tour of Peru. Next day went into Peru, and she was like, he had to convince people that APEC was working for them as they were all poor living on the side of the street. And she went to this pottery store, but what she didn't realise, it was there were pottery penises, because it was it was a very phallic thing. It was some whatever it was, they were different sized penises in pottery, and Shipley hadn't realised this. And I said to my camera and Wayne, I said, film this, mate. This is good. She's about to go and sample, and so she started picking it up, going, and she'd been giving me shit that morning, and then suddenly here she is holding up these pottery penises, like, Burton, and I was like, oh. Put that one down and grab another one, and I was like, I couldn't believe what I was saying here. So this is brilliant. We're going to run through this. The camera and I see in the corner started to shake because of the laughter. And I think she realised at the end what they were, because one of the journalists said, do you know what you're holding there, Prime Minister? And she goes, I think I've gathered what they are. Yes.
That sounds like her.
Those moments, I still see it clearly.
Well.
I see it clearly,
So does she buy it?
It's a small one. Well, you don't want excess baggage, You've got to come back to the country and customs have to observe it. Yeah.
Who's your favourite politician to interview? Is it Winston?
That's a combative.
Yeah, he's funny.
I don't know. I mean, if it was my birthday tomorrow, when's your birthday?
November.
Yeah. You are next, though. But they're not your friend, no. So they don't. Well, if I was to sit at my birthday and wait for one of them to ring, they'd never call. They don't know. So those aren't friends. Yeah? My favourite one to interview. I did love Winston. He was cool. Yeah.
I love how he turns those journalists over.
Oh, he's a pro. Yeah. He's a pro. There's not a shred of evidence. Well, it actually is, but it's 3 boxes of it, mate. Well, have you been through it? Have you? Yeah. Prove it. Oh, prove what? He gets you all the time. So Michael Cullen, he was a smart guy, a bright guy. Shane Jones interviews himself, with words that other New Zealanders don't understand. Our politicians are actually pretty boring, actually. Winston was quite good.
Yeah, to interview, he's
David Samuels and those guys, they were pretty unhinged. I quite enjoyed them.
David Samuels.
Yeah. Parliament's a bland place at the moment, It's just... When I said if Peter Dunn came back, it might, stand out a bit more. You got a problem, So I just think social media, the rise of social media and the accountability and the cancellation of so many people in society has made Parliament a duller, boring place.
Yeah.
Because no longer will it accept anything but people of it trusts and believes in. And I think parties are so cautious around who they select, so there's no longer any characters. Everyone's sort of safe pair of hands until they're not. and it's blander as I think it's blander as well.
Yeah.
Shit, we used to run some of the stories we'd run and characters in them, and, you know, swearing in Parliament, you know, just all this stuff was a great era. But nowadays, I think everyone's just too frightened to do anything, so no one does anything. You know,
say anything.
Yeah, stick your neck out. You know?
Which Prime Minister do you think did the best job? And include Longy and Muldoon as well.
Sort of before my time, I was only 10, and Longy lost the plot, so he had a cup of tea and never came back. Muldoon was a protectionist, and you couldn't even sell butter without a licence, you know. So they all have faults. Clark was probably the most astute political manager,
Yeah.
and Key was the most astute economically. So Clark and Key stand out like beacons of hope.
If they're on the same
Jacinda
team.
Ardern promised transformation, and we barely got an explanation. You know, when she exited, no, I think it's poor.
I used to love how you used to question her.
You're
awesome.
I don't think I was tough enough.
I think for what she could handle was probably enough.
Who gives a shit what she could handle? She should have done just the job, you know, $500,000.
You never irritate her, and that was beautiful
you really
to
did
watch.
irritate.
That was
I agree.
beautiful to watch.
One stage, I said something to her, and she did something snarky back, and I thought, oh yeah, winning this is good. Keep going snarky. But it was patronising then, wasn't it? You know, I did like that though. But if you know you're gonna wind them up, then you're on your guard. You know, I did want this one thing. What's the time? Have we got enough time?
Don't worry about it.
I tell this.
Midnight.
No river ads.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Matadeki's almost here. The stars will be out.
That's
how I'll drive home by just looking up. I'll follow the stars. I got this one incident at Parliament, and this guy, I played in the rugby team with him too. I thought we were mates, but anyway. And he gave me a really big push, you know, to get a minister out of my way, so the minister got a clear way. Now, you can't do that. So they allege that I gave him one back, you know, would I? And so I denied it. I said, no, this is bullshit. You guys are trying to stitch me up. And so I had to go for a meeting, you know, because you get kicked out of Parliament, you lose your ID and, you know, all these privileges which involve a car park for your cameraman. So I went across there with Gordon McBride, who's no longer with us, but he was our bureau chief. He's the man. And he goes, oh, these bastards, what are they going to do to you? Get you sacked for a week? So I said, yeah, probably lose my ID for the week. He says, oh, we'll just pinch TV1 stuff. Yeah, no worries, mate. So I went, you didn't do it, though, did you? I said, no, I didn't do that, nothing. So I went into the meeting, and the speakers there, Duncan, were just gravely concerned about the assault that took place. And I was like, well, it's just a bit of a melee, mate, a bit of a scuffle. I wasn't involved in it. I don't think I was anywhere near it. And then so I denied all this stuff, and everyone was quiet. And this prick comes in from this little office, and little uptight guy, and presses a button, open. This mahogany cupboard just open up this big screen. And Gordon, who's in there, my boss, looks at me and goes, uh-oh. And I went, what do you mean? Uh-oh. And they're going to play something. And they said, so you didn't do it, Duncan? I said, I did not touch him. Duke. They started this tape. And I was like, oh, shit. There's all these cameras in Parliament with this area where it happened. And you see me get pushed out of the way. And I was hoping the tape would stop there. And then all you see next is this... Well, to this big version, the security guard's back, and he falls over, and then I scarp around the back so I wasn't seen, and it's all on tape. And I'm sitting there going, when was the, is that, okay, what's the point? Gordon's going, you fucking did, mate. I was like, it's not bad, you went down, didn't you? And we're mumbling over there, and they said, look, your punishment, Duncan, is a week. You're banned from Parliament. I was like, I get leave. I get free leave for this, mate. He goes, no, you come to work. You still work. You just banned from. Yeah, cameras are banned. So anyway, within seconds, Guy Espin had given me his tapes anyway. But I thought that prick the whole out. Here I was, and I didn't do anything, and all you see is fall for them. And I played rugby with this guy, you know. But he got me a beauty first, and I thought, oh, it's heat of the moment. We'll have a go. But yeah, I regret that time. But these are all stories you can tell, and it seems okay later on. And I remember coming out, I'm not going to use this word, not on this podcast, but I came out of the Speaker's office with my boss, and he goes, turns to me and goes, well, what a complete bunch of, and he used a word there, And I said, yeah, you're so right. When I heard him use that word and say this, I thought, he's on my side. And of course, he'd been there for 20 years and told the same stories 20 years ago. So I'd forgotten there were so many cameras in the lobby, you know. Cameras. Shit, it was like UFC, mate. They had every angle, eh? They didn't see the old... Yeah, I was well and truly hung, drawn and caught today. I didn't have any excuse. I was like, oh, shit. Got lots of footage. It's good footage. It's a bit grainy. I was trying to find a reason why it wasn't credible. It was 100% credible. Are you sure there's not a different date? No, it's not. Is that Scott? It could be Scott. No, it's me. Okay, it was just one of those things.
Oh, man. Hey, Duncan, man, because I'm conscious of time as well, Duncan. But
well, you should be conscious an hour ago. I mean, it's almost Monday. You know?
Because I know you get the podcast tomorrow, or almost tomorrow.
Today, no, you guys take your time.
But mate, thank you for the stories, man. It's just been enlightening in terms of what you had to share, and also your experiences, and also the things that you've just gone through. But also just sharing parts of your life as well, bro.
But you guys have created a really good atmosphere. It's, you know, you guys are really gentle in your approach, and I'm wondering, how did you guys organise? Who's going to ask what? You guys are all patient. You wait your turn, and you do it really well. If it was sort of for unprofessional journalists, wait, my turn. My turn. But you guys are pros. So,
thank you, man.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
That's massive.
Yeah, that's massive, man.
Massive comment coming from you, so thank you so much.
Yeah, especially you, Duncan. Man. It is. But just one more question, Duncan. But yeah, one more. Just one last time.
You know, the coffee you made me is 4 hours old.
It's solid as a rock.
It's iced coffee.
One more, Duncan. When it's all said and done, Duncan, for you in terms of the work that you've done, what's going to be the biggest achievement for you in the work that you've done thus far?
That I can honestly say that each day I went and to do it, that I fought my best to get as much information for the public that they hadn't received before each day. So to tell them something new, you know, you got to remember that most New Zealanders only ever got their news from. They're different now, but when we were doing this at its height, the 6 o'clock news at night, that's the only interaction that people had. They didn't buy newspapers. That's the only interaction they had. And Linda Clark taught me this one thing. She goes, accuracy is crucial, and how you deliver your information is crucial. Do not confuse it. Keep it simple to the point where someone at home takes something away from it. And so that's what I'm mostly proud of, is that I've stayed true to that. And also developed I don't judge, you know, like with the criminals and the gangsters and stuff. They have a role in life too, and I've got to know so many of them now that I listen to them openly. You know, there's so many stories that we haven't heard about their lives, and yeah, there's some bad ones. I get all that, and I'm not making excuses for them, but there's a reason why some of them, most of them are there. There's always a reason why someone in a criminal group like that, you know, and there for the grace of God go we all, you know. If you've got good parents and they were good people, then sometimes you're lucky, you know. So I'm very thankful that that I'm surrounding myself largely with good people and good parents. They give you, you know, you take it for granted that you get an okay upbringing, you know. We didn't have much, but we had good guidance, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said. Hey, it seems like such a simple thing, but without it, the other side not looking to flash, you know. So yeah, it's a privilege to meet you all. You do great work, man. Yeah.
No, thanks, man. Appreciate your time as well.
It's now Friday, so.
but yeah, man, thank you so much, Duncan. Duncan, every guest that comes on, we always give them a gift. As on behalf of the Mandate team, this is for you, mate.
Oh wow! Thank you very much. Oh wow! Who did that? You did that? Wow, that's wicked, man.
Oh, mate.
Thank you very much. You know, I'll keep this away from the kids because they might
get some therapy.
Or the ex-wife.
No, I appreciate it, man.
That's how I stand like that too, you know.
Wow.
So it was a bit
you know, on the AM show, you know, you go to different places and there's the kids that come up to you and they would have drawn an AM show desk and stuff, and I've still got all that stuff, you know. Like it's. You know, people are going out of their way to to do something for you, and I'll when I get home to my mum's place tonight, I'll put this on the mantelpiece and see if she in the morning she'll come out and she'll, oh, it's new. We did have it. So thank you very much. Yeah, no, I treasure that. Thank you very much.
Awesome, mate.
That's
I appreciate it.
Before Pete wraps it up, I just want to say, like, man, it's been awesome sitting here with you, Duncan, someone that we've, like, you know, get to have the privilege to turn on our TVs and you're there in the mornings, and a lot of the stories that you've covered, you've advocated for our people. Like, not many have come into South Auckland and shined the different light you have. And I know when you've shared on this podcast about certain things that you haven't been able to pause and deal with because you're always on the go, and sometimes that may trigger something, and it sounds like there's like some guilt there in terms of time and some decisions you've had to make because of the sacrifices. I just want you to know, thank you for those people who are voiceless, because they don't know that the decisions that you've had to make and some of the sacrifices you've had to make in terms of, you know, your relationships. And so we thank you. They feel that guilt, you know. I bet you your dad would have been proud of you in terms of the work that you're doing now. And I know this is still not the end for you. We, you know, people that have come on to our table, we have this connection with them, and we always like to follow them after the podcast. And our prayer for you is that, well, hopefully that this next chapter that you go into, that you find that time for you. You've given so much of yourself. You've allowed, you've raised certain issues and certain things for our people, our communities, and not just locally, but nationally. And so we just thank you so much.
No, thank you very much.
Just know that we're here. You know, we're here praying for you, and
I feel it hard. I feel it hard. Yeah.
So thank you,
But
brother.
you're right about the voiceless. You know, that's one of your main jobs as a journalist, is to, and not enough journalists come into South Auckland. It shouldn't be seen as a big deal. In fact, there should be based here. Well, it can be based where some of the issues are. You know, too many people coming from the wrong parts of town to do stories across the other side of town without understanding. So I've always tried to make it my mission to understand before you go in, you know. Yeah. We might always get it right, but you know, try. Thank you. Only jokes about De La Salle too.
And, you know,
Speaking like a true journalist,
and you mentioned the word before, uso. We look at you as a uso, bro.
Definitely.
You're a vanilla uso.
Yeah. I used to, one more story, it's midnight yet, and my son's mates are from Samoan boys, are from a family of 10. You know, dad drives the buses and mum works in the local Malaysian cafe. They are very good friends of mine. And I saw these boys come into our team years ago, and I realised that for them to come to trainings, you know, it's going to be me that gets these boys. And in the end, they ended up staying in my house every weekend. So I turned the whole house around. And I went to the small room, and my room became the boys' room. And funny, you know, I turned up to get them, and I heard in the side the parents say, "Yeah, come on, boys, it's your white dad." and I cracked up laughing. And so from those days on, I was the white dad. Whenever we went round to the house and they were having a family meeting or they were outside doing something more formal, whatever, the mum, close to the mum, she said, your white dad's here. Hurry up, white dad. Yeah, and I said, I got the boots in the car from last week, don't worry about it. Yeah, come on, boys, your white dad's waiting, you know. And they, of course, they knew my name and everything, but and I spent a lot of time in the house, and you know, that's only way to get to know people and how they live and their lives and to understand them is to get amongst them, you know. You can't do it from a distance. And then you realise the pressures and the stress. The dad's doing 90 hours a week and a split shift on the buses for $21 an hour.
Jeez.
You know? Well, if you're going to need a hand with the mouth guard, I'll get the mouth guard for you. You understand this shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then how are the boys meant to be ready every, you know, like if some parents' expectations is from other parents, well, why aren't the boys here? Well, they're not here because there's 10 of them in the house, there's 3 bedrooms, and they're trying to find the clothes for the game.
Yeah.
It's just be slower to judge. Get into the house and see this shit, you know. Yeah. So There's lots of holes in my wall as a result of them tackling practice. But I look at these boys, when my son went from rugby league this year to rugby, he moved away from his team for 8 years. Was his team. That was hard because I felt like I was losing my house, my job, and then these boys. These boys are my extension of my boys, and all this sort of loss was coming. That's just another 12 hours, mate. But we always go back and see them, and we have them all the time. And they're growing up, and I got big raps on one of these boys here. Wait, yeah. Kane Dallas out, one of these boys. He's good. he's gonna be good. Yeah.
Oh, man, awesome, Duncan. Yeah. Hey, Duncan, is there anyone you could think of that would be ideal to come on the podcast? Is there anyone that you think?
Yeah,
that'd be perfect.
Yeah, I think you had David Telly on, yeah. There's a guy called Rob Campbell, who was the guy that headed up to Whatuora, Health New Zealand, and he resigned, remember, under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
So he's our chairman on the Buttabean. He was the chairman of Sky City, and he turned up at one of Dave's boot camps, and now he's chairman, and he's been on all the corporate boards. He's seen everything. He's seen it from both sides, and he was sacked for doing his job well. He'd be great to get on here. He's been on all public boards, Sky City Casino. He knows all these things. He knows lots, and he's at the point of his life now where he'll just say it.
Cool.
And you hum it, I'll play it, or whatever. He'll do that. So someone like that, Rob is good. This is a good scheme, isn't it? You just get others, you get the ideas. I'd also Mark Sainsbury. He has had a full life. He's married. His kids are Samoan. He is a character, a generous man. He's seen everything overseas, done all that. He's a great chat. He's a great guy. He's one of life's most generous, beautiful men. Yeah. His car broke down in Buttabean last week when he was coming up, and he went to the service station 10 o'clock at night. And she said, yeah. One of those faces. The service station guy goes, here's my keys, mate. Take my car to Auckland. Just bring it back when you're done. Who does that? You might get that in a hillbilly American town, but
he's still got
a hillbilly New Zealand town.
He's still got that moustache, eh?
He's still got it.
There's small city living in there. But Sono's a great guy.
You twirl yours too, eh, Jamin?
Yeah, you can see it. Not now we know that. But he's when you lose these guys, they get replaced easy. There's whole institutional knowledge, and if Mark was listening to half the stuff that he should have been listening to, he'd have even greater knowledge. He's a good guy, man. Generous, lovely man.
Oh, man.
Guy in Espina. Paddy Gower, you get all them?
Oh, yeah, Paddy Gower, yeah.
He's nuts. You can bring him on here. He'll still be here on Sunday. Paddy, I hired Paddy, and we put a scrum down in the. He goes, put a scrum down, Garner. I'm like, oh, mate, I'm going to cane you. Look at your toothpick, mate. And he was reasonably sized, and so we had a big fax machine behind where we put the scrum down. Oh, shit. Gower showed no interest in putting much pressure on. I lifted him up, and he went back onto this $400 fax machine, which ended up in 400 pieces. And so we took it across to the boss, who already got me out of trouble for the fight. And I took it over on a tray, and I said, Gordon, Paddy lost the scrum. And he goes, what have you done? I said, we've never used a fax machine anyway. Facsimile machine, when was the last time you used a facsimile machine? We're just helping get rid of it.
Anymore.
Facsimile.
It was so cool when he did that personal thank you to you the other day on your podcast.
Did you hear that?
I did. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice of Paddy. He didn't have to do that. I promised him that I'd do the impossible, and turn him into this guy, and he had all the skills. He knew what he was doing, but he made me sign this 18-point contract. It's like shit. I'm talking about you scrub your shoes, mate. But he got a hard time when he first started. People were really tough on him, and I got pissed off about that. And so I was a sort of bulldog at the front. Here's my pick, and I wanted to look after him, and I didn't want him exposed. And because television's a brutal place early on. If you don't know what you're doing, or you come across a bit, you're different to someone else, whatever. We're harsh judges. And I knew Paddy had it. He just had to get over the first couple of hurdles. shit, me and the other boss were taking it hard. But I said, Paddy, truthfully, you'll be right, mate. I got you back on this. Just trust me, I'll get you through it. And we buried a few people along the way there. He's a great guy, Paddy. He's full of energy. Yeah.
And I just wanted to talk what.
So if I could get my own back on you guys, I would be getting Paddy in there.
But I wanted to talk what Charles was saying, and even just with what Paddy was saying to you in your podcast. Not only are you like absolute mongrel in your journalist skills, love seeing that side of you, you totally balance that fully out on the aroha side as well. And you have such a great balance, and just the way you've helped people. I've even heard Ryan's story about how you've helped him and kind of got him through his journey and his career. I mean, there's so much testament out there of the genuinity and the authenticity of who you are. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
Thank
really
you.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it that you've seen that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah, because I was an arsehole in Wellington.
But you needed to be, right?
That's the game.
And I love that. I'd see that side of you, and you had this eyebrow thing that kind of we had a few death threats over the years. One of them was quite serious. This guy that was breeding pit bull terriers, I called him out, and he wanted to come and kill me, and he knew my address. He wrote it down on the computer. He said, "This is where you're at, eh?" And I thought, I went home and looked at what weapons I had. I just decided they weren't good enough. And so the cops got involved. And he wasn't coming up. He couldn't afford the plane ticket to come up, and he wasn't going to waste his time. But it can get a bit hairy on these things, Yeah.
Just a bit weird,
Yeah, but once again,
it's a bit, when they type, "This is your address. Make sure your family's not there tonight." And I'm like,
that's scary.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but most of the time, it doesn't. It doesn't happen, and so it does. Then, So, you can't do that.
No,
but this is what he was threatening to do.
Yeah.
Over a dog. That's another 12 hours.
with that, Duncan, thank you so much, Duncan. Duncan, just one last thing. Just if you could share some words of encouragement to our men out there, our viewers and listeners. One last thing.
Yeah, I just take it easy. Take it one step at a time. Most of our problems are not permanent, so you don't need a permanent solution to a temporary problem, if you know what I mean. You just need to take it easy, take it step by step. It's not as bad as your mind is making it. It's not as serious as you think it is. It's entirely achievable that you'll get through it. And not everybody is talking about you or about that situation like you think they are. Like, most people are selfish. They're living their own lives over there. So always know that you can breathe. It's really important. Walk it off. Don't fight it off. Don't go looking for scraps. Just breathe and walk it off. I do this now, and honestly, write the email, then don't send it. Write the letter, but don't send it. Get it off your chest. Talk to someone. But it's entirely achievable that we get through this stuff, because the other option is not thinkable, and no one wants that. And your family loves you, and people need you. So I'll just make that really clear. So good luck.
Awesome. Thank you, Duncan. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And as usual, team,
refine,
unlock,
take charge.
Mandate.